Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I am your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about
I already,
yourself?
I'm doing fine. We already did this prior to me coming on. I
Right.
don't
So
know
we got
why
to
I'm repeating
pretend that we're
myself.
greeting each
They
other
each other
again
for the
for
first
the
time.
purpose of the
Yes,
show. Yeah, yeah. So what you sipping on?
I have myself a Calypso Taste of the Islands Ocean Blue Lemonade.
Wow, that sounds very summery.
It's a blue drink too. It's blue. I think it's like blue raspberry or something flavored made with
Oh, good,
lemonade.
good.
And when I think of blue drinks, I think of Romulan ale, which will be a little hint to our
Will
good
no
old days in a
longer
couple
will no
minutes.
longer be served at diplomatic functions. Exactly. I'm
He
having
wasn't
a
wrong. That was a
no.
disaster.
I love what they did in Next Gen at Riker's wedding. Worf goes, "Oh, Romulan ale should be illegal," and Geordi's like, "It is."
uh, I don't know. Okay. Hello, my geeky friends. Have a great stream. Thank you, Big Al.
Yep, yep.
Netter, hi, sweetie. Thank you. It's always nice to get a hi, sweetie
Right?
from Netter. Deleted scenes, welcome. Depensac, assemble the geeky old farts. The time is
Yep.
now. The geezers are here. I'm feeling like an old fart lately. I got to tell you, this is. I'm like, get off my lawn. In fact, I forgot. I have to reuse your Stan Lee thing for my banner. I got to put that up
Yeah,
soon.
I sent
You know,
that to you. Get
yeah,
off
I'll
my
do that.
lawn.
Yeah, that was from Gran Torino, Clint Eastwood.
Yes,
Remember?
it was. Good movie.
I like that movie. They're all good movies. All Clint's movies are good, except maybe the one with the orangutan. I don't know.
Oh,
Uh,
I love those.
I only
Any
saw the
which way you
first
can
one.
and any which way you can and any which
Any
way
which
but
way but
loose. Yeah.
loose. Yes, yes. I have to watch the second one.
Actually, I'll be honest with you. Those were my first Clint Eastwood films.
They were very popular. Were they the inspiration for BJ and the Bear?
Probably. Yeah.
Joshua V, welcome. Zatopia, welcome. Anybody else who I might have missed? Welcome to Geeky Geezers. We got a lot to cover tonight because guess what was this week? Comic Con,
Yeah.
the big geek culture convention of the year, right? San
Yeah.
Diego Comic
San
Con.
Diego Comic Con.
Have you ever been?
I've never been. There was a time when I really wanted to, but then I started to be less and less desirous to visit the left coast, and then as I've seen what Comic Con has become, I've completely lost interest.
You mean you go into Comic Con and you say, "Well, that's not accurate," and then the person behind the movie says, "Shut up, nerd."
Yeah,
You know,
basically. I for a long time had wanted to go because of all the exclusives, particularly the toy exclusives. And ever since the pandemic, we got kind of spoiled because it was like, well, you can't go to Comic-Con, so we're going to make those exclusives available online. Okay, great. And they've kind of never gone back from that. So all those in quotes Comic-Con exclusives are still available online.
really?
Yeah, but there's been nothing I've been interested in anymore. Hasbro's all of their Comic-Con exclusives are really just repackages of older toys, like figures that were, already put together in a scene pack. So
Really?
and yeah, there's one that's coming out that's got several of the characters from the Mandalorian, like posed in a scene. They're all figures that have already come out. I think there was one that came out with a Luke Skywalker that is coming out later next year, so you can get the figure earlier by getting this exclusive, but it's not that crucial. And the fact is, you can get it online probably, or you could spend the money to travel to San Diego Comic Con, stay at the convention, pay to get into the convention, then buy the doodah. And it's like, no, it's not worth it. And all the
I'm
news that is supposed to be exclusive, that comes out within 24 hours, and we are going to bring that to you tonight. So you don't have we research San Diego Comic-Con, so you don't have to go.
Aged Boomer. A DC Comics seems to miss the Comic Con memo. Oh wait, they just didn't show up. Was the
Yeah.
DC related news from their fandom thing? Do they have a fandom thing going on this weekend? Is that where that kind of came from, or are they just dropping this stuff
No,
regardless?
actually, it goes back further than that. The big two had kind of been stopping their DC first. DC didn't show up, and this was years before the pandemic. Didn't come to Chicago Comic Con, and it was the following year after that they announced that they were going to start their DC Dome or whatever, and we're like, well, okay, that explains it. And then Marvel started to back off from it too. Of course, that was under Disney. So we're like, well, maybe Disney wants to start doing their own thing. And yeah, so the Comic Cons they've just become big corporate versions of fan cons, really.
All right. Big Al says, I actually prefer any which way you can to every which way but loose. All right.
Yeah, I like both of them though. I really, of course, like so many other things, I haven't seen it in years, and probably a lot of my memories of it are based on things going on in my life at the time. It was a good time in my life, so I have fond
I
memories.
kind of sick it in with that whole genre, like the Smokey and the Bandit type movies. It kind of falls in there, like the whole
Yeah,
Southern charm
yeah.
thing, yeah, that was going on.
And that was right around that 70s era of that urban cowboy thing and
Yeah,
whatnot.
basically, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Like, what are the Cowboys up to now? Yeah.
Exactly. But that's why I always try to give a context when I'm sharing, you know, these memories and whatnot. I share not only, and those of you that followed us and saw Mr. Matchstick's stream last week, and I was talking about my history with Spider-Man. I shared not only, I watched this show and I got these comics and I did these things. It was, and I wore the underoos, and here's a picture of me as Spider-Man as at for my 6th birthday, and why these things resonated with me as a kid. Those things are integral.
Well, it's interesting because we're going to get to something in a minute that resonated with me as a kid too. But before that, Troy, can you
Yeah.
believe the man who Luke Skywalker
So
box just?
let me I'm glad you brought that up, because that it wasn't on my list of things to talk about tonight, but I could certainly speak to that. Yes, the Mando Luke Skywalker figure is literally just a repack of Return of the Jedi, and people that are paying attention are like, yeah, but it's not the same cost. That black uniform that he wears is very different in Return of the Jedi. It looks more like an imperial officer's uniform. And what you see later on in Mandalorian is a black gi, which implies to me that, this is his new Jedi robe, his new Jedi uniform
Something
type
more
thing.
akin to what Anakin wore in Revenge of the Sith, and that, right? The black
Ex-
outfit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. And so we were expecting a new sculpt, but they spent so much time and energy on that Riva lightsaber prototype that
Hey,
they may not have had the money for
they
the.
needed to prioritize what they needed to prioritize. Anyway, greetings, Daniel Heron. Also, greetings, also people those that have us. Welcome, Daniel Heron.
Yeah.
Anyway, tune in. Hopefully, this Wednesday we'll be doing. This Wednesday I believe is Magnum Force. So tune in then. All right. So I did want to let's start with the good old days, and I did want to talk about a movie that heavily influenced me as a child, and that was Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, which still to this day a lot of people refer to as the best of the Star Trek movies.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I've got later years. I've grown to appreciate 4 and 6, and even 3. I think is underrated. I think that's a very good Star Trek movie, Search for Spock. But it did all begin with Star Trek 2. This was my introduction to Star Trek. It wasn't the old series, wasn't motion picture. It was Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. They had it on Showtime. I watched it. I think I was a little too young to quite understand it at the time,
Mhm.
and I would revisit it later because, of course, the other big science fiction movie I saw off of Showtime was Star Wars,
Yep.
and that was, my impression of that was starts out you have this giant guy dressed in black, scary face, and a bunch of other guys dressed like skeletons behind them, and he lifts some guy up and breaks his neck in front of me.
Right.
When as a kid, and that was a villain, and that was that's how that was. I don't know if that was my first introduction of what a true villain was like,
Yeah.
but then Star Trek Two gave me another villain in Khan, and I didn't quite know what to make of Khan, and I realized later on that this was a villain whose motivations I understood. I
Yeah.
understood why he was doing what he was doing. It wasn't just the fact that I'm just evil. I understood why, from his perspective, he hated James T. Kirk and what he was doing. And
Right. But
yeah,
even with that, you have his crew, and a lot of people believe that Joaquin in Star Trek 2 is actually his son.
yeah,
Too young to be, from the original crew.
that's what I
Um,
believe. Yeah,
but he is like, look, why are you pushing this thing with Kirk? He's nobody.
yes,
You've liberated us from this planet. Let's and that's when you start to get the whole Moby Dick thing. He's
yeah,
Ahab.
yeah,
He's his mind is snapped, and all he can focus on is his revenge. And
yes,
this is where you stop understanding him and you go, okay, you're just a nutter,
yeah. I always thought that guy was his son. Maybe he wasn't. It's never explicitly said in the movie, but it was an impression I got, especially later on when his
A
son
lot of
dies. As I will avenge you. When he says
Yeah,
that.
a lot of fans believe it, if for no other reason than, like I said, the implication there was a Joaquin in the original crew, Spacey, but he was a very different looking man, and he would be much older, just like
It's
Ricardo
possible he
Montalban
named him
is.
after a friend or something from
That
the
was
original
the
crew.
assumption,
Yes,
that
yes.
so many people died that, but
I assume they all did except for their children. I'm assuming they had children on this planet, and
and that was the
yeah,
impression you
yeah,
got of all those background characters,
yeah.
because they were all so young, right?
Um,
So
yeah,
his wife Marla
yeah,
MacGyver's, she dies. She presumably had this son. He has, fair hair. I think Marla was redhead,
yeah.
but we don't know that was natural. So we don't know what the story is there. But yeah, and then you juxtapose that with Scotty's nephew serving in the engine room,
Yeah.
right? So it kind of makes sense, right? It's like, okay, we have families.
Hello? You muted, Troy. You there? Okay.
Sorry about that. My
It's
apologies.
okay.
I
It's
was
all
in
right.
a sentence probably too when it happened.
You were bringing up the point of Scotty's nephew, which, of course, is not in the theatrical edition. You have to see the director's cut to find out it's his nephew that
Yeah, and it
that
was
dies.
also
Yeah.
in the novelization,
Interesting. Okay.
and to this day, not only do so many fans consider it, head canon, but now Memory Alpha, which is the online repository of canon for Star Trek, has kind of accepted that too. But yeah, so it kind of juxtaposed the good guys and the bad guys both having family on board and so forth. So it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember though, to this day, when I put it on and watch it, I get goosebumps from the intro credit sequence and everything. Because
Great.
there's, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a great theme. That theme is
James
that
Horner
theme only appears, I think, in Star Trek 2. I don't think they
and
reused that
three.
anywhere else.
They
Did they
reused
use
it.
it in 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not in the main credits, but it's in the movie. It's like in the end. It's in the end credits, and it's like throughout the picture. The Star Trek theme. I don't know why they never used it again. I don't know, but I love the James Horner theme because for starters, it starts out with the classic Star Trek theme, and then it molds into the James Horner theme, and it
Which
yeah
is what they followed through with every iteration of Star
yeah.
Trek, with that
Uh-huh.
opening little,
And that's fine. Yeah, I think they should
bars.
do that when they make new themes. Do the throw the classic theme in there somewhere. Yeah.
Well,
It's a
now that I think
reminder.
about it, though, with the exception of Enterprise, Enterprise is just that power ballad.
Yeah, I think Enterprise started the trend that we have now with these anyway. But I remember actually not to get off track, but I remember when Enterprise was announced and everyone online was complaining they're using the song from Patch Adams.
Yep. Yes, they are. Yes, they
Oh
did. Good song though, and I
yeah,
think
I don't have a problem with it.
very
Yeah, yeah,
appropriate. I think to the theme of the show,
sure, sure.
and I think the only thing that would have made it better, they should have had Scott Bakula sing it.
That would have been neat.
He definitely has the singing chops to do it. He should have. That would have been so much better.
But Star Trek 2 though, no, we have that great credit sequence, and you get like that weird like whisper thing in the beginning where it's like I don't know what I'm seeing here, and you see the vastness of space, and it's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And then we get to the beginning sequence where we have we see the classic Star Trek characters, which I think I probably knew of them from osmosis because they were a big part of popular culture, so I probably knew who Mr. Spock was. Maybe I caught my dad watching an episode of the old show or something.
That's the important point for the fans, because that's actually a great commentary, because you didn't know Trek that well, but and I'm sure there were a lot of people that were going to see it that were in that same position.
Yeah,
but there was also a lot of people that were big established Star Trek fans that had gone to see the previous movie. Remember, this comes after the motion picture, right?
Yes.
So you get there and you see most of the crew in the place where you would expect them to be on the bridge. Different uniform. Okay. Definitely a better uniform than in the previous movie.
Yes.
And then you see someone in the command chair. It's not Kirk.
It's Saavik.
It's a young woman, female Vulcan. So you're like, okay, so we got a new captain for some reason. And it's not Spock.
Spock is there on the ship. Yeah.
And because these are new uniforms, completely different, ranking on the uniform. So you don't know what their ranks are.
Oh, good point. I didn't think about that.
And for the most part, you knew, okay, that blue, green, okay, that's the doctor. Okay. The science. Okay. I see and she's got a red turtleneck. It's like, I guess that's Captain, right? and then what? We have the
warning from space. Dress call. They're in the Klingon neutral zone. And,
they've been blown into the Klingon.
Well, that's where the shit. That's where the distress signal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. And they're worried the crew's
that's important for galactic, legal reasons. They didn't purposely go into the neutral zone, which kind of puts them on their own. They were blown in by a gravitic mine. We don't know whose gravitic mine that could be. So we've already got speculation that maybe this was sabotaged by the Klingons to begin with. That's the only reason why someone might go, well, I guess we've got to enter the neutral zone then to mount a rescue. So they plot their course and
of course, Mr. Sulu saying, "May I remind the captain, I'm aware of my responsibilities, Mister." She cuts him right off. Remember, she says that, because of course there's treaty and you can't just go into.
Which keep that in mind, because that was a double thing there, right? It fills in the audience on why they shouldn't be going into the neutral zone, foreshadows what's going to happen, but it also plays against something that happens much later in the movie. We'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But then they enter the neutral zone, and it turns out it was all a ruse. There is no ship. And then suddenly, coming out of cloak, 3 Klingon attack cruisers.
Yes,
led by the IKC Amar. A little bit of trivia that you might not have known.
Oh, is that an important ship?
Not really, but for fans it is, because it's the first time we're seeing the new Klingons, played by Mark Leonard.
For motion picture, they use the same models, right? Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
So anyway, yes. but yeah, that's right. That was the footage being reused from the first movie. So that makes that ship, the IKC, excuse me, Amar. Anyway, they prepare to they're outnumbered 3-1, and as a fan we know that those Katinga class cruisers or D7 cruisers
Yeah.
are pretty much evenly matched for a Constitution class
Sure.
Enterprise.
Yeah.
So outnumbered 3-1, they're losing. The ship gets blasted, the bridge is blowing up, you see Spock go flying, you see
Like
everybody
everyone's
flying out
dying,
of
all
their
the crew's
seats.
dying around her. Like those electric the Starfleet electric equipment, they blow up and they electrocute you on the spot and
Exactly.
stuff. You know,
And it's like, seriously, all my favorite people are dying in the first 5 minutes, and there she is sitting, and she goes, you know, this is the captain, abandoned ship, and then all of a sudden,
well, if Ryan Johnson had directed it, it would have ended there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
probably
I'll be
subverted your expectations.
Okay,
there.
anyway, no, okay, open her up, and it's Captain Kirk
And the
silhouette.
lights and
Yep.
and just a word of wisdom, Mr. Savick. Klingons
Pray.
do not take prisoners.
Any suggestions, Admiral? Pray, Mr. Savick.
Yeah.
Klingons do not take prisoners. And I thought that was
and then
neat.
then you get the humor break where you see Dr. McCoy, with his, lying on his hand saying, "How'd I do?" Like, how was my acting? Whatnot. I thought you were
says,
dead.
I'm not a drama critic and stuff. And of course, we find out it's Captain Kirk's birthday. And he's basically Admiral Kirk. Yeah, good to say.
That's important.
Admiral Kirk.
Right?
It's very important. They
we
subbed
also
him behind
realize,
a desk. Yes.
We also realize at this point that yes, he's an admiral, but Savick is not actually a captain. This was her command course at the academy.
Everyone's
and she's
training.
Actually a cadet. Yeah.
They're all cadets. The Enterprise is being used to train future Starfleet cadets, which I understand. And who best to train them than these experienced crew members that went on the 5-year mission?
And it makes sense
yes.
that Spock is her mentor, another Vulcan in the in the service. So it does kind of line up. Then you get, I mean, we could actually spend a whole night analyzing this film. I don't want to do that. But we do have this lead up to some really major themes of young and old, life and death, good and evil, responsibility,
sacrifice,
exactly.
Not that I want to spoil it for you. Haven't seen it. It's got a
needs
zinger
of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, and so forth. Just, I guess,
heroism on display in this movie.
The only way I can put it is just pathos. I mean, it was incredible, and credit to Nick Meyer, who, everybody talks about, well, we need so-and-so to direct this movie because he's a real fan. Nick Meyer was not a fan of Star Trek. He had never seen Star Trek before he was optioned for this. But he did his homework. He went and watched some episodes, and he's like, oh, I totally get what this is. Not only did he get it, but I'm going to say it. He took it to the next level. He said, this is what it is. I can make it even better. He added the military elements that were kind of not really there in the TV show. He really upped the family feel of the characters. They had become, over all these years, as they're going into their retirement years, they have become such good friends. They associate off duty, spend birthdays together, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of heart in this movie, and I don't, it's almost a perfect science fiction movie or a perfect adventure movie, and it's
the kind of sci-fi that didn't have to be sci-fi. This could have been told in an 1800 setting on naval vessels.
And he did treat it like, and think about it, that's sort of how space warfare, there's some good great space warfare in this movie.
Yep.
I'm not going to get into it because we'll be here all night, but there, especially when he goes up against his adversary Khan, who basically steals another Federation ship, and you get to see two Federation ships going toe to toe with each other, and it's fascinating. And it's yeah,
that is exactly what inspired Starfleet battles and later FASA with their tabletop miniature combat games. Really, the rule set is not that different from other naval combat tabletop games that existed at the time. They added the shield elements and phasers versus whatever, some of the other sci-fi trappings, but none of it really matters so much as the tactics are all pretty much the same.
Yeah. And here's what I'm going to say about Nicholas Meyer. When the original writers of the old Star Trek, they weren't Star Trek fans yet because Star Trek was just coming into being. And I think I look at Nicholas Myers as that. He's brought on board, but he's another. All I want is someone who's going to respect the material, take it seriously, and just do his best to make a great motion picture. I'll make a point. The biggest thing I'm a fan of is movies. I'm a cinephile. And I don't care what the genre is that you're making movie, and just give it your all and make it as good as you can make it. Don't just treat it as a joke. Like Maverick, like, let's be blunt, fighter pilot movie probably wouldn't be a number one pick, but a fighter pilot movie made to the best of a director's, writer's, actor's ability. Yes, I'll see that any day of the week over a tepid superhero movie that may have come out.
And I'll tell you something else for the fans that are big on canon continuity, those little elements. There are a couple potential errors here. The whole thing about Khan recognizing Chekhov.
Yes, because he wasn't on the ship yet. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I could totally see Nick Meyer overlooking. And I think if someone had pointed it out to him, he'd have been like, oh, well, let's just swap it for Sulu, just to keep, and that's exactly why Walter Koenig didn't mention it to him. He didn't want to lose his bigger role. Nothing quite like joining a stream and hearing Troy talking about Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Did a double take before I caught up with everything. Yeah.
Well, I hadn't read Moby Dick yet. I mean, I did in high school, but I was like, oh, this reminds me of Star Trek too. Oh, of course, because he even finds a copy of I think Moby Dick in the in Khan's when they're on that desolate planet that Khan is on. Yeah. But I love how the Kobayashi Maru has entered the reference as a no-win scenario. Well, and I like how Kirk doesn't believe in the no-win scenario, and that's interesting with his character and his arc goes on.
And that gives the backstory. How did you? Because Savick asks him at one point. She's like, there was no way to win. He's like, well, that's true. It's Starfleet wants to test you in the no-win scenario just to see how you'll react. There is no winning. She says, well, how did you deal with it? He goes, well, I had the virtue of a solution that had never been tried before. And of course, Dr. McCoy outs him. He cheated. I didn't so much cheat. I got a commendation for original thinking.
Hey, you know what? Think outside the box. That's what you have to do as a captain. And Kirk does some thinking outside the box in this movie. And I'm going to say this, the full-on friendship between Kirk and Spock is on display in this movie. How they
it breaks your heart when they're separated by glass, right? And he's getting ready to go in after him, and it takes both Dr. McCoy and Scotty to hold him back. No, you'll flood the whole compartment. He's dead already.
I know, and it's horrible.
Is true, but oh my gosh, it's just heartbreaking. And I'm sorry. You can try to justify every reboot, remake, whatever, but I'm sorry if you haven't put in the time and the build up to something like this, it has no value. I did not, that Star Trek Beyond or whatever it was, or Star Trek
Into Darkness,
the JJ Trek, where they reverse the roles. You just spent 2 movies with these guys hating each other.
Yeah.
And now we're supposed to be in tears when one dies. You're full of shit.
Into Darkness starts out with him ratting on Kirk to the higher up, saying, "Oh, he broke the prime directive," and it's like, they're not friends yet. He's.
Yeah.
I think people have made a comment that the Spock in the Abrams movies, at least the first two, he was acting like a dick. He's not the guy you want to be friends with.
You
And
know, Auditor Dread makes a great point. Would you say the director of Wrath of Khan was, Nick Meyer, was the equivalent of Irvin Kershner for Empire Strikes Back? Like, he wasn't a fan of Star Wars, but he brought a lot of maturity to the film. Yeah, I think absolutely. You take the time to look at what it is, because just like I said, just like Star Trek, this whole story could just as easily have been done in the 1800s with British warships and islands rather than starships and planets. Same thing with Star Wars. I mean, there's Lucas himself tells you what his inspirations were. When you know what they are, it's like, I see what you're doing here. I could do this movie. Yes.
Yeah. Meyer thought of it as a submarine movie as well. That's Deep Insect says that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Death of Spock. Oh, spoiler. His top 10 character death stuff. Yeah, it's a great film, and I never tire of it. I'll say that. I mean, I don't watch it every day, but for a while I was watching it a lot.
I'll tell
I
you
still
what,
put it on once in a while.
If you're not in tears by the time Spock dies, I defy you to get through Amazing Grace played on the bagpipes.
Yeah.
I lose it every
and Shatner time. Does some good acting in that movie. Shatner's Kirk is about ready. He's keeping his composure as best he can, but you can tell he's wanting to cry.
Yep. And then you cut to Savick, who does have a tear in her eye.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy crap. Because she, as far as you know, she's full Vulcan. You haven't seen her show any emotion through this whole movie. And it's like, wow, even the Vulcan is crying.
Yeah. And of course, the great Ricardo Montalban doing a wonderful job as the villain Khan.
Man.
And I could talk about that for 2 hours, but he's
not to mention those pec muscles of his. Oh my God.
He kept in shape. That's what Nicholas Meyer says. That's his body.
Part of me wondered if he was actually lifting Chekhov up by the handle on his uniform.
Possibly.
I mean, that was just like, probably not, but it sure convinced me. I could believe it.
Yeah, Star Trek into Mystery Box. Don't get me started. Of course.
Oh God.
Anyway, Star Trek II Wrath of Khan Classic. Maybe one day we'll talk about it again. But right now, we have to move on to the news.
Well, not really moving very far, because one of the guests at San Diego Comic-Con was Captain Admiral Kirk. Yeah.
Yes. But first, we talk about Simon Pegg, who plays Scotty in the J.J. Abrams movies, who I don't think was a terrible choice for Scotty. I mean, I think
he looks great in the role.
Yeah, and
he could spruce up his Scottish
accent a bit. Well, he's British, right? Close enough, right? Okay.
Yeah. No, that's not close enough. To American ears, it might be close enough, but.
Simon Pegg, Star Wars fandom is the most toxic at the moment, and it's really sad. Okay, let's read this. Now, as you know, I tend not to pick on actors on the show, but sometimes they open up their mouth.
But when they're an ass going off script, they're fair game.
Let's read this. Okay, now Simon Pegg has become a franchise master in recent years, having appeared in the likes of Star Trek, Star Wars, Mission Impossible, and Doctor Who.
Box Trolls last night.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. During a recent appearance at Sirius XM's Jim and Stan radio show via Mediate, Pegg was asked what franchise has the hardest fans to please. It didn't take long for the actor to deliver his answer. Star Wars. Loaded
question. He knew what he was asking and what answer he was expecting.
Anyway, to be honest, and as someone who was who kind of was, kicked off about the prequels when they came out, the Star Wars fan base really seems to be the most kind of toxic at the moment, Pegg said. I'm probably being very controversial to say that. Pegg noted that he himself was once a toxic Star Wars fan, as he contributed to the backlash against Jar Jar Binks actor Ahmed Best when Star Wars The Phantom Menace opened in theaters. Pegg has previously said he is ashamed for contributing to the backlash. Controversy around Jar Jar Binks led Bess to consider ending his own life. I've apologized for the things I said, Jar Jar Binks, Peg told the podcast host, because, of course, there was a fucking actor involved. He was getting a lot of flack, and it was a human being, and because it got a lot of hate, he suffered, and I feel terrible being a part of that. For Peg, Star Trek fandom is the exact opposite of Star Wars fandom. I find the Star Trek fans have always been very, very inclusive, Star Trek's about diversity, as has been from 1966 at all. Always was, the actor said. There's no sort of like, oh, you're suddenly being woke, Peg added. No, Star Trek was woke from the beginning, This is massively progressive. Star Wars, suddenly there is a little bit of more diversity and everyone's kicking off about it, and it's really sad. Peg had a small prosthetics-laden role as Unkar Plutt in Star Wars The Force Awakens. I do not remember his part in that movie. They kept saying he was in it. I don't know. Was he playing one of the aliens in the bar or something? I don't know. All right. It's okay not to like the Phantom Menace and not like Jar Jar Binks. Now, I know some people did take it to the extreme back in the day. This was prior to Disney owning Star Wars. There was all kinds of prequel hate. You may remember that, Troy, from back in the day. Ain't It Cool News was a haven for such stuff. I won't even repeat on here some of the comments I read on there, but they were kind of nasty. But at the same time, it's okay not to like something. It's okay not to like a character. Now, if you're harassing an actor that played the weird Jar Jar Binks, yeah, that's not right. But I don't think Simon Pegg did that. I think he was just complaining about the Phantom Menace. There's a funny scene on the television series Spaced. Have you heard of it? It was an early. It was where Edgar Wright got it started. It was a BBC series, lasted 2 seasons. Simon Pegg was a character on there. Season 2 opens up, and it's the famous scene from Return of the Jedi with Darth Vader's head on the fire and Simon Pegg setting fire to it. It says Star Wars, and it's like, and the box says Star Wars stuff and toys, because he was so upset about the Phantom Menace. He was burning all of his Star Wars stuff. And then there's another scene in the episode where he's yelling at someone, and he's going, you weren't there from the beginning. You don't know what the myth and the magic of what this meant to us. And here you are. You're just feeding into whatever they sell you. And he's yelling, and it's like a 6-year-old kid, and he runs out of the store crying because he wanted to buy a Jar Jar action figure, because he worked at a comic book store. But it's that stuff, and it's like I don't know anyone who's complaining about diversity in Star Wars, at least as far as like having diverse actors. There's always been diverse actors in Star Wars. This isn't new. I mean,
yeah, this is the whole problem here is assuming that woke and progressive are equivalent, and they're not. Right. Woke is something very, very different. Woke is socialist agenda driven. It is purposely trying to destroy history and iconography and institutions for the purpose about bringing about a new order. Whereas progressivism is, hey, don't be racist, don't be sexist. Everybody's made equal.
Yes.
These progressive is, and even if you don't agree, live and let live, right? I mean, those two people may be the same gender and want to live together. None of your business what they do in their house.
Right.
That's progressive. Okay. Whereas woke is we need to admit that we have subconscious racism, and we really in our heart of hearts hate people.
And some groups are bad because of history, which may or may not be true, and that's
because their great grandfathers might have done something that we believe.
I hate to break
this. Can't be racist, but we can paint you with a wide brush.
I hate to break this to you. All of us at some point have a bad ancestor. I would think. I mean, that did something. Not cool.
Yeah,
not even saying about
you're probably right, but I'll tell you something. Come at me about racism. My family didn't even come to this country until after the Civil War, and then they were treated like slaves themselves.
Yeah, because discrimination. Yeah,
Italians were not white people when they came to the United States.
lots of groups were picked on. The Irish need not apply. That was a thing, I think,
Yep.
right? And there's all this stuff. Lots of groups had to fight, and I'm trying to think. Yeah, Gangs of New York show talks about the whole racial strife, but it was racial strife against like Polish immigrants and Italian immigrants and Irish immigrants
Mm-hmm.
versus the
Mm-hmm.
the natives, and it's an interesting movie. Space was actually good. What I've seen, but I like Space a lot. I've liked Simon Pegg in a lot of movies. I think he's drunk the Kool Aid here, and look. Let's be blunt. You and I have had our own run-ins with some Star Wars fans that can be a little nuts. I'm not going to name
Oh
names,
yeah.
but you know, on both sides of the spectrum of the fight. But I'm just
And look,
saying,
I think we very oftentimes on this channel and on mine and whatnot, we've always said this. Look, they're actors, they're just playing a role, not their fault. But when they do this kind of shit, has nothing to do with you being an actor anymore. Now you're just you being a dick.
I'm tired of people holding water for Disney. Um, anything Disney puts out, you're not allowed to criticize, or you're an istophobe. That's basically where we are. And no, that's not how it is. If you make a bad show or a bad movie, it's a bad show and a bad movie.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And at least one could make the argument that some of the stuff that is coming out of Disney, there's still some good. Maybe there's at least people trying to make good stuff, even if they, are pushing a rock up a hill.
Yeah.
That ain't the case with Star Trek. There ain't been shit that's come out of Star Trek since the JJ Trek days.
I don't know what he's talking about. Star Trek fans, it could be the ones that don't like what they've done, have just moved on. Because it's just, I don't know. Let's move on though to another actor we have here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now here we have another actor, Star Trek related,
William Shatner.
He's got some things to say about Trek too.
That man has tons of energy for his age. He's in his 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had that much energy now. So
I mean, for years I'd been casting shade at him for carrying all the extra weight. Doesn't seem to be hurting him any. I mean, no. He doesn't look as old as someone his age should. Hell, he looks better than Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh, yeah. William Shatner sounds off on Star Wars' latest Star Trek shows during lively Comic-Con appearance. William Shatner closed out the first night of San Diego Comic-Con in style with plenty of cursing and a look back at his storied career. In an hour-long chat with MC Kevin Smith, the 91-year-old actor talked about aging, space travel, both real and fictional, and his place in the pop culture consciousness. Space. Yeah, that was cool. I'm sorry. I'm not even a fan of Elon Musk, but that was cool that he got to go to space.
Yeah.
Throughout the Shatner on Shatner panel presented by the fandom-focused company Legion M, the icon fluctuated between, as he put it, serious and fun topics. He took time to address the importance and power of fandom to his career, and specifically to Star Trek, which 56 years ago introduced the world to James T. Kirk, his most enduring character. When asked to address the fans of the other major sci-fi franchise, Shatner quipped, "Fuck Star Wars," but not Mark Hamill. We love Mark Hamill, Smith agreed. When asked by a fan...
Maybe they do, but okay, go on.
Yeah, well, anyway. When asked by a fan if there were any new Star Trek series he thought rivaled his own, Shatner replied, "None of them. I got to know creator Gene Roddenberry in 3 years fairly well," said Shatner. He'd be turning in his grave at some of this stuff.
Yep.
At another point, he gave a fan a hard time for wearing a mask because the actor could not hear the man's question. Not only did I not understand what he's talking about, but I don't understand who he's talking to, said Shatner after several attempts of asking the fan to take it off.
Yeah.
The panel ended with fulfillment of a promise from Shatner. At the very beginning, Shatner said he and Smith would engage in a curse-off. "You're a double dumbass," said Shatner. "Well, double dumbass on you," Smith returned, a reference to lines in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home.
4, that's right. Yeah.
That movie's great fun, too. I know he talked about Star Trek, too. "What kind of shitty statement is that?" Shatner quit back. "Now you sound just like my mother," said Smith. "I feel sorry for your mother," Shatner said, ending the panel in a mic drop moment.
That's beautiful. That's just beautiful.
And the point is, it's okay not to like things. And, I mean, I get flack. I like the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. I still do. I know some people out there hate its interpretation of Batman, but I still stand by it. But it's okay to like things. It's also okay not to like things. It's okay to have taste,
Right.
and not just to adhere to the taste that the corporation tells you you're supposed to have.
Yep. Yep.
Which is where I feel we are now. Just and let me tell you, so everyone was on board with the Mandalorian until there was interference. Well, not everybody, but that was getting the jaded Star Wars fans back. Remember?
Yep.
Anyway, I don't know. You got any comments about this, Shatner?
No, I am gaining more and more respect for this man as time goes by. I never used to care much for Shatner. He used to be kind of an arrogant asshole. He's mellowed out.
I think he's mellowed as again. Well, people can change. That's the thing. Like, I used to have more respect for Simon Pegg. Hopefully he'll change back to how he was. Because I think he's just been hanging around with the beautiful people, quote unquote, too long, and just wants to please them and by saying these statements. And no, it's okay. I'm sorry, that's part of what being a quote unquote geek was all about. I mean, my friends and I growing up, it was always Marvel versus DC. And of course, I was the DC fan. They were always the Marvel fans. And it's annoying, but, that's just how things are. It's like with sports talk, you don't like your team. It's, you don't like the other person's team,
Yeah, it's tribalism. And I'll tell you, I know that it's especially true with sports because people are radical supporters of teams that clearly are losers. So it's like, it's more about the color of the banner you're waving than it is about the team itself.
Yeah. I enjoy the Nolan Bat trilogy. Well, thank you. I know Troy would have enjoyed Dark Knight Rises, but he said he couldn't understand what the villain was saying for the whole movie. Anyway, all right, but no, Shatner's funny. In fact, I was telling Troy before the stream, I'm watching a Discovery Plus series called The Unexplained, and it's hosted by Shatner. Yeah. And he's talking like the first title of the special was Evil Places. There's a forest in Japan where people end their own lives. And he's saying it with such seriousness and conviction. And I'm thinking, under his breath, I know he thinks this is all full of crap, but it's reminding me almost like his take on the Leonard Nimoy series In Search Of. Remember that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I watched that on a regular basis growing up. I was just absolutely certain that, by the year 2000, we would have discovered, that ESP was real and people would be moving things with their minds. That was the days of not only In Search Of, but like Uri Geller and stuff like that. I'm glad I grew up, found out, oh yeah, I guess there's con artists out there.
Well, one of the episodes of The Unexplained is Powers of the Mind. So I'm looking forward to watching that, and I'll find out the truth.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. I hope they don't perpetuate that bull crap about we only use 10% of our brains or whatever. That's been debunked a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
But I bet you they'll say it. I'll bet you. I would wager real money with you that they're going to do that.
Actually, I remember on Batman Beyond, because it was the future Batman show, they had to deal with a group of telepaths. This was the future, so of course, in the future, it was all going to be more common, right? So there was a group of villains in an episode. Okay, the Alan Grant, legendary Batman, Lobo, Judge Dredd writer has died. Yes. Would this surprise you a little bit? Maybe?
I mean, it's another one of those names where it's like you hadn't thought about him in a while, and all of a sudden, oh no,
another one.
Yeah.
Alan Grant, the influential writer, famed for his lengthy runs on Batman, Detective Comics, and Judge Dredd, has passed away at age 73. His death was announced July 21st on Facebook by his wife Susan, and then quickly spread on social media. Although no cause of death was given, Grant reportedly has been ill for some time. He was a towering presence in comics and a force of nature in life. Artist and writer Liam Sharp wrote on Twitter, "Changes in circumstances meant I have not seen him for far too long, and I had been meaning to put that right." Grant, whom the Scottish Book Trust called a leading star of Scottish comics and a great ambassador for them, began his career as editor in the late 1960s, working first for Scottish publisher DC Thomson and then for London-based IPC magazines. From 1978 to 1980, he served as editor for 2000 AD and wrote Thorg's Future Shocks, Judge Dredd, Strontium Dog, Robo Hunter, and Blackhawk. Grant also introduced his own comic book alter ego, um, Owl One, the robotic assistant to Tharg the Mighty. Grant was part of the so-called British invasion of American comics in the 1980s that brought with it such creators as Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Garth Ennis, Dave Gibbons, and Grant Morrison. He made his DC Comics debut in 1987 with the dystopian miniseries Outcast, which, despite being unsuccessful, led to his famed run on Detective Comics, which kicked off the following year. With artist Norm Breyfogle, his frequent Batman collaborator, Grant created such notable rogues as Anarchy and The Ventriloquist with co-writer John Wagner. Grant's lengthy tour of Gotham City also included a 24-issue run on Batman, a series of Batman Judge Dredd crossovers, and a staggering 82 issues of Batman Shadow of the Bat, in which he and Breyfogle introduced villains Victor Zsasz, Amygdala, and Jeremiah Arkham. He also re-teamed with Breyfogle on the late 1990s for a pair of Anarchy miniseries. At DC, Grant became associated by the fan favorite anti-hero Lobo, created in 1983 by Keith Griffin and Roger Slipher. Grant featured the Intergalactic Bounty Hunter and Legion, a Legion of Superheroes spin-off, and collaborated with Giffen and artist Simon Bisley's on Lobo's first miniseries. That was followed by multiple miniseries and special 64 issues and all of which were written or co-written by him. While most closely associated with DC Comics in 2000 AD, Grant produced work for Marvel's Epic Comics imprint Boom Studios and a handful of others. He also created The Bogeyman with Wagner and artist Robin Smith. Yeah, he was a big name, obviously. I didn't realize he's the one that created The Ventriloquist.
Yeah, I thought that was that went back even further, but now that I think it through, yeah. That's about the time Anarchy came into existence too. So yeah.
Well, it makes sense too, because The Ventriloquist would have been perfect for the Adam West show. So they would have
I
used
guess
him
that's
back
what
then.
I was thinking. I really did think that was more of a golden age type character. Yeah.
They did him great on Batman the Animated Series, and of course that was based on the Golden Age comics, so they kind of inserted him into the Golden Age era on Batman the Animated Series with that. And it was and Judge Dredd, big fan of Judge Dredd. I have read some of those comics over the years, and not as many as I wish, but big fan of Judge Dredd. So he had a full career, important name, but yeah.
Well, and this is the other thing is we've been doing all this talking about how they're not writing and creating the way they used to. And, it's like we're losing all the good talent. It's like if these kids don't start stepping up and doing it, but it's not going to be at these comic book companies. It's going to be coming from the independents. It's going to be from people like
Eric D. July.
Yeah. With his Ripaverse or what's her name? Summers doing the Jack the Ripper Vampire Slayer,
right?
Which I'm about halfway through, and just heads up, I'm probably going to be doing a pretty darn positive review on that. It's pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, because like back in the day, working for DC or Marvel, this was like a big deal. It wasn't just something you'd slough off. It was an honor to work. I mean, maybe they paid them better back then too. So I don't know. I keep wondering if one of the reasons we're not getting as good artists and writers these days is maybe these companies aren't paying what they used to too.
You know what else? These talents from back in the day knew what they were coming into. And you'd hear their stories, and at least I did, because I met a lot of these guys at various Comic Cons and conventions and whatnot. And their stories were always pretty similar. And they asked me to work on Superman. And I was like, Superman? I mean, that's big time. That's big responsibility, And nowadays it's like, all right, great. Now I'm in charge and I can change it up however I want to. The arrogance these days, as opposed to that level of, really understanding the gravitas that they were going to be subjected to.
Yeah. Mandy
Yes,
Summers.
Mandy Summers. Thank you.
She's putting out a broad swath of comics and genres outside mainstream superhero stuff. Okay, well, definitely something to keep an eye out.
There was this one. She did a female pirate one that's kind of sexy, funny.
You have me sold. Sexy female pirates. Is that a thing? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
With the off the shoulders and the the
there we go.
headlights
Okay,
and stuff.
I'm sold. You have me there. Okay.
Go check out her Twitter. She'll tell you when she's got a new one. I'll tell you what, they've already got up the Indiegogo for issue 2 of this Jack the Ripper Vampire. In fact, I got a video on my channel. Go check it out, and I've got all the links right there. I showed some of the artwork, but not all of it, because I wanted to keep the video PG.
I understand.
Yeah.
PG, huh? Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so definitely something to keep an eye out for. Yeah, but rest in peace. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely.
Okay. Moving on, I'm not going to actually read from this article because it's a very long and in-depth article. I do recommend you reading it. Rolling Stone, they do some good reporting sometimes. I'll say that.
Sometimes
they do, yes.
Sometimes they put out chill pieces,
and then sometimes they do the good reporting. Yeah,
and we'll talk about which one this one is.
This is reminding me from back when we were talking about the Anton Fisher, right? That was his name when he was screaming about Joss Whedon.
Anton Fisher, isn't he?
Hold on, I have his name here. Yeah, it's Cyborg.
Okay, was that the actor that played him?
Yes.
Okay.
The one who was going after Joss Whedon and all of Warner Brothers.
Okay,
let's try to take this down piece by piece. What this article talked about. Okay,
right.
So fake accounts fueled Snyder Cut online army. Now I first saw this headline. I'm like, oh, did Warner Brothers set up these fake accounts to bring up interest in releasing the Snyder Cut? That's what I thought, because it's like this was all artificial, and Warner Brothers was behind it to get people interested to subscribe to HBO Max. No, that's not the story here.
Yeah.
So the release the Snyder Cut people that had been screaming all these years, and the army, the big army online that was, posting to Twitter and other social media platforms trying to get the Snyder Cut release. Now, some of those users may have been genuine Snyder fans, but we're discovering a lot of those accounts were fake. And I think the article alludes to, or even suspects, that maybe Zack Snyder might have been in charge of the whole operation, right?
That's what the article says, yes.
It's insinuating, at least. And I know that I think some of these companies that specialize in that, I think one of them came from China. That was another thing, which I thought was interesting. So this is the impression I get, and this is speculation from what I've read in this article. So I could have gotten some things wrong from this article, but I'm just going to tell you my impression. My impression is that Zack Snyder was already having trouble with his cut of Justice League. The execs weren't happy. They didn't want to release a 4-hour movie, blah, blah. And then, of course, there was the tragedy that happened with his daughter, so he had to leave with his wife, and they went off. And then Joss Whedon had to stepped in to do his own cut of the movie, which, of course, ended up being a disaster. But apparently, this whole campaign to get a cut done, it may have been completely run by him. This wasn't an independent fandom thing that was happening. A lot of these accounts have been read to be fake. I also believe that, from what I've read in this article, that the whole thing with Anton Fisher attacking Walter Hamada and Joss Whedon and other people at Warner Brothers, that he was doing this probably at the beck and call of Zack Snyder, who had it in for a lot of the other creative minds over in the DC studios, and was attacking them and attacking their operations going on there, because he wanted to be back in charge of the DC universe. And I think he ended up causing a lot of damage. And my basic, because I know that Anton Fisher is still working with him over at Netflix, even though I guess he was done over at Warner Brothers. And I'm actually starting to wonder how much of these attacks on Joss Whedon. Now, of course, Joss Whedon has a reputation, and perhaps some of the stuff we was saying was true, but I know the motivation behind it. I don't think was about making a nice and fair workplace. I think it was about getting Zack Snyder back in at Warner Brothers and running the DC cinematic universe. This is the impression I get. And how about yourself? Is this accurate what I'm saying?
No, you're quoting, or you're summarizing the article.
I'm doing my best because there's a lot of shoe leather here. Okay, this is a good in-depth article. I'm thinking that this director was directly attacking the studio. That's what it sounds like, and doing it behind the scenes to get his cut of the movie made. And I think
now,
go ahead. This is shady.
I'm going to play. I oftentimes talk about the political YouTubers that I listen to, the law YouTubers that I like to listen to, Viva Fry and Robert Barnes. Robert Barnes has a show on it's actually on Locals. I subscribe to them, so it's not regularly available, but I'm going to quote him. It's going to go. He would say, "It's that time again, folks. And as always, on the QT, off the record, and very, very hush hush." And he will take a political issue or a historic event, and he will offer the other side of it, as though he was an attorney presenting a case in court. Doesn't necessarily mean he agrees with it, but he's presenting a case. And if you don't mind, I would like to present the other side of this case as provided by frequent contributor to Midnight's Edge, Cameron Pasha. He says, Rolling Stone has published a hit piece on the Snyder Cut crowd, claiming that a large fan clamor for Zack Snyder's original version of Justice League was fake news created by bots. Rolling Stone is owned by Penske Media, presumably no relation to David Penske, but you can let us know. That's Pensac. So yeah, no, probably no relation. Yeah, there we go. Which also owns Variety and Deadline. Jay Penske is a rich heir who uses these publications to shill for, in quotes, the club, end quote. He has been aggressively pro Amber Heard, who has blackmail Ion with club friends, and viciously against Disney CEO Bob Chapek, who has proven to be a thorn in the club's side. As Penske is now gunning for the biggest threat of all, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, who unceremoniously fired club members like Warner's chief Ann Sarnoff the moment he took over the merged company. Sarnoff famously resented the power the fans wield in pushing for the Snyder Cut, which Warner's executives wanted to keep buried. She was humiliated when public pressure gave the fans what they demanded. And it kind of goes on from there. There's other points that he makes. I'm not going to get into all of it. You really should, follow Cameron on Patreon, because he's got these kinds of really good nuggets. But I would just put it out to you that why are we going to believe Rolling Stone when they talk about bots, when we haven't been able to believe any claims about bots that anyone else has said about anything in the past 5 years? Hell, we have someone trying to buy Twitter and can't even get a disclosure about the friggin' bots on that channel, on that outlet. And he's trying to make a business deal. They legally have to give him this information. So now we're going to believe Rolling Stone, when they say that the now we tongue in cheek referred to them as the Snyder bots, because we're talking about NPC people that just go lockstep, and their tribe is the Snyder thing. Look, I may not agree with them, I may not like the Snyderverse, but they are human beings that have a right to their opinion and to demand what they want. And that's what I'm seeing here. Were there some bots involved? Sure. But I saw far too many people arguing back and forth on Twitter. This is not the Mein Kampf. Sorry.
What?
I meant Voight-Kampf.
Demonetize. Of course, I'm not getting money off this anyway.
Right.
Oh,
Voight-Kampf. This isn't a Voight-Kampf test, right? This is. I can tell that these are human beings because they're going back and forth with somebody about the Snyderverse. These aren't bots. These are ideologues, people that really, really love the Snyderverse, and they are very boisterous. But are there some bots? Yeah, but there's bots all over the place. There's bots, trying to stir up all kinds of shit, whether it's about DC Comics or it's about, the 2020 election, because the enemies of this country want to keep us divided, and they're doing a phenomenal friggin' job of it.
Antoine or Ray? Oh, Ray Fisher, my mistake. Okay.
That's why I was confused. Okay.
I don't know where I got the name Antoine from. I don't know. Anyway, we're thinking of Jack Nicholson. Antoine got a little hot under the collar. I don't know. Okay. Because Rolling Stone is such a trustworthy publication.
Yeah, exactly.
They've gotten things wrong, but they've done some good reporting in the past. I don't know though. This whole thing though, it just started making me think, though, if this was true. For starters, I don't think this makes Ann Sarnoff look any better. If this was, it just makes her look like a fool. If this is indeed what happened.
Well,
okay. So I don't know if this is about them being upset about Sarnoff getting fired because this doesn't make her look any better. Okay.
No, it doesn't matter how.
This doesn't affect Zaslav. This isn't. Zaslav wasn't even behind any of this stuff.
No, but they are going after Zaslav as he tries to go, and we'll be getting to more of what's going on with DC going forward. But he is now trying to make these decisions, and they're trying to hurt him in any way they can, just the same way that the club is trying to hurt Disney and destroy. Look, these people just exist to destroy, right? Whether it's Star Trek or Star Wars or DC.
But what are they seeking to destroy here with DC? I mean, I guess maybe I could argue that
their fiefdom, the club.
Maybe I could argue that the Snyderverse, while I'm not a big fan of it, I guess it isn't quote unquote woke, right? It's its own thing. I find it kind of sleazy. Not all of it. I mean, but
in fact, I've actually heard a very reasonable argument from the Snyder side saying that a lot of the most egregious things that we didn't like about the Snyderverse was in spite of, what they were trying to do with it. It was really, other things being pushed and, upper management at Warner Brothers saying, well, you got to do this and you got to do that. And we need this and we need that. And if you think it through, it kind of makes sense. The stupidest stuff that they did was stuff that they did for marketing because they're morons that think they know better than the fans, what the fans want. Well, we want Batman and Superman to fight. Nobody wanted that.
Well, to be fair, that idea had been kicked around since the 90s.
Yes, that's the problem. It was kicked around in joking ways. When it was, what was it? It was I Am Legend, wasn't it? That had the Batman versus Superman storyline as a movie, funny. And everyone's like, funny. Oh yeah, that's cool, that would be funny if that happened. And then they pushed to make it happen. It's like, no, it's not that we really want that.
And of course it's Superman Doomsday as well, which was also the Death and Return project that never came to pass. They just smashed them both together. That's where Dawn of Justice came from. But yeah, it's
I've seen now the Snyder cut. And honestly, if they had done that as 3 or 4 movies, been much better. They could have done that and gotten all the character development and all of that kind of
Right.
stuff in there. You know, you would start caring about characters like the Flash and Cyborg and stuff. Otherwise, they're just background characters that throw in a line or two to move the story along.
So I guess Zack Snyder may come out and refute this at some point soon, right? So we'll see what he has to say.
It depends on whether or not he feels he even has a stake in it anymore.
Oh well, they're not going to let him back in over there. I think he's done over at Warner's. He's at with Netflix now, which may not be good for him in the long run. But
yeah,
I
we'll
don't
talk
know.
a little bit more about Netflix later too.
DC is such a mess right now.
It is.
It
is absolutely without a rudder. And
okay.
Yeah.
I would argue, oddly enough, though, even though I'm not. It seems for some reason it seems less rudderless than where Marvel is right now, which I find kind of shocking.
You know, I'm not sure I agree with that either, but yeah, let's go ahead.
It's okay if you don't. I'm just saying, at least with these DC movies, at least if I mean, I'm at least seeing known superheroes showing up in them. Here. Let's go to Shazam, Fury of the Gods, gets its first full trailer. So I did watch these trailers before the stream. Shazam, Fury of the Gods has finally received its first full trailer, showcasing the next adventure with Zachary Levi, Shazam, and his superpowered family. Revealed as part of San Diego Comic-Con 2022, the trailer begins with Shazam doubting his role in the DC EU as a superhero, while also saying he feels like a fraud when compared to the other heroes like Batman, Aquaman, and the Flash. We also get a glimpse of Helen Mirren's Hespera, the Shazamily, Lucy Liu's Calypso, Shazam throwing a truck at a dragon, and even a Fast and the Furious reference. That last bit is funny because Helen Mirren starred in F9 as Queenie. Okay. Levi was at the panel and shared some details on what he is and his Shazamily have been up to since the first film. We got this really cool look into the kids getting their powers. Levi said. Now it's a couple years on. We've been flying around and doing missions and helping the people of Philadelphia. Lots of growing pains, not just in our powers, but in trying to figure out who we are as heroes and as real people. Hespera also discussed how she loved her time. Okay, Helen Mirren. Okay, also discussed how she loved her time as Hespera, that she was a delicious baddie to play before looking at Levi and saying she had such a marvelous time kicking the shit out of you. We previously saw footage from the movie at DC Fandom, but that was primarily made up of behind-the-scenes looks at the production. The movie, which will arrive on December 21st, follows October's debut of Black Adam, Shazam's traditional comic book nemesis. The story will see the Shazam family established at the end of the first movie, balancing normal life with being superheroes before two goddesses, Mirren's Hespera and Liu's Calypso, visit the world and cause trouble. The new movie will seemingly be more adult comedy and feature more adult stakes than the kid-friendly original. The kid-friendly original? What? Did you see
maybe they mean the comic, not the film.
There were people dying in bad ways in the original movie, the Shazam movie. You know,
yeah, I think they're referring to the Fawcett comics.
The Seven Deadly Sins, as they call the movie, not the Seven Deadly Enemies of Man, but you know, it was the same. Yeah, I don't know. I do like Zachary Levi as Shazam. And I like the idea of the Marvel family. I like that his adopted brothers and sisters get to be superheroes themselves, and it's kind of a family thing. I did like that part of the last movie. Other parts I liked less, but that part I thought was good. I liked, you know, I don't know. What do you think? Did you see Shazam?
I did not. I don't have a dog in this hunt. I have not followed any of the DC stories. I don't have a stake in Snyderverse. I don't have a stake in any of that stuff. But
well, Shazam seems a little more ridiculous to even have taking place in the Snyderverse, even though I guess it is, because it's not. you don't really see a ton of other superheroes in this. Not that you need them because you have the Marvel family, which is
That would have actually been a great series of films to start up as if it was a separate universe. And then if they ever get around to doing some crisis or whatever, bringing them together. But I'm going to point out once again, they're doing what they've been doing with Suicide Squad and the Joker and every other thing, giving us villain movies for villains that haven't even been established as villains yet. I don't want to see a movie about Black Adam until I've seen him be the villain repeatedly in a Shazam movie, and then have him be the anti-hero character.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. Real Captain Marvel's new trailer looks perfectly bland. Normally, that'd be a strike against it. But after all the Marvel sludge, bland might be an improvement. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I would not
there.
be, but I'm like, there might be some light, funny moments in this, and at least
it's getting to the point where we have set our bar so low that mediocre popcorn fun is better than, you know, some of the crap that we're used to.
Yeah, it's just okay. So, here we have from IGN the Black Adam official trailer. I saw this before Maverick, and I'm like, wait a minute. Black Adam's the villain. I originally thought this was going to be like take place when I heard they were doing a Black Adam movie. Oh, they're going to have it start out in ancient Egypt with him meeting the wizard and him becoming, you know, the champion.
Yeah.
And then something goes wrong. You see his fall from grace, and then he gets imprisoned. And it was going to be like like Dracula Untold, where you see the setup of the villain. I thought that's where they were going, because I think when Black Adam started out, he was like the hero, but he was like the hero of the world in like ancient Egypt, right? But then things go wrong, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that what happened? And I thought that was the movie they were going to do, and I thought that might be interesting.
Basically, it's a story of, you know, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. This was the prototypical what was that Brightburn type thing. You give someone the power of Superman, he starts out as a hero, and then he lets it go to his head, and he becomes a dictator.
This reminds me of on Smallville, when like someone would get Clark's powers by accident, and they would usually abuse those powers, right?
And
even when they didn't even start out that way. Yeah,
that was one of the things I loved about Smallville, that it just really shows me they got who Superman is, right?
Yeah.
Because his real superpower isn't his powers. It's the fact that he has such a strong moral compass. He will not let them corrupt him.
Yeah, and you have other villains in Superman, like even on the animated series, they made a point that one of their setups for villains with Superman in the animated series was to give a regular person a taste of power, but maybe they're not so good, like the Parasite or Livewire. You know, these are regular people that got superpowers, and of course they become villains and they use it for their own ends. You know,
every single time Clark would get a new power, it would freak him out, and he'd go to his parents. Who does he go to for advice? He goes to his parents, and nowhere is that much more ironic to the average person these days than when he discovers he has X-ray vision. And what does he do? He immediately goes to his parents. He's embarrassed. He's nervous.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Well, you just got to learn to, you know, control it. And every guy watching this is going, yep, there's no way I'd learn to do that. I'd go, how can I see into the girls' locker room?
Do you remember on Smallville when he got the heat vision and he had to have a talk with his dad about how it gets ignited and stuff?
And it was great because his dad has to basically have, in a very, at the time, television appropriate, family appropriate way, how to deal with your hormones.
Yeah, basically.
Heaven forbid we should teach our boys to get their knockers under control.
Yeah, exactly. And it was funny, and it's just so. But here we have Black Adam. Okay, like I actually respected the fact that Dwayne the Rock Johnson, he said they actually, Warner Brothers went to him, you can either play Captain Marvel or Black Adam, and he picked Black Adam because Black Adam is his favorite supervillain.
Yeah.
From comic books.
But is he going to be playing him as a villain?
That's what I don't know. So let's go here.
and I haven't seen anything to tell me one way or the other. Just, you know, I would correlate Black Adam to Doctor Doom from Marvel. He is a hero to his people, right? He is he's a dictator, but he's pretty well loved within his country. But boy, outside of his country, he'll F you up.
So let's go. Okay, so from Blue Knight Cinema, Dwayne Johnson stars in the action adventure Black Adam. The first ever feature film to explore the story of DC superhero comes to the big screen under the direction of call it Sarah. Nearly 5,000 years ago, he was bestowed with the almighty powers of the ancient gods and imprisoned just as quickly. Black Adam Johnson is freed from his earthly tomb, ready to unleash his unique form of justice on the modern world. Dwayne Johnson stars alongside Aldous Hodges Hawkman, Noah Centineo as Adam Smasher, Sarah Shahi as Adriana, Marwan Kanzari as Ishmael, Quintessa Swindle as Cyclone, Bodhi Sabagyu as Amun, and Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. I do like that casting for Dr. Fate.
Well, and see, out of all of those, I only recognize Hawkman and Dr. Fate. All the rest of them are,
well,
I have no idea. Oh, no, Adam Smasher. I know Adam Smasher too.
Yeah. The film's producers are both okay, and it goes to the producers. Comes to the theaters October 21st. Here's what I don't understand. What they could have done was theoretically, didn't Hawkman exist in ancient Egypt? Wasn't one of his ancestors, and he's reincarnated.
No.
So
he
could have encountered.
Yeah,
he could have encountered Black Adam or one of his
absolutely. In fact,
Dr. Fate. How far does Dr. Fate go back? He could have encountered Black Adam in ancient Egypt. So they
those
could have done it as a period thing. Yes,
and in fact, this was something that you, me, Brandon, and a bunch of other people have talked about over on the what's it called? My fixing the DC cinematic universe. We said that would be a brilliant thing for them to do, and it would also be their way, DC's, way of introducing magic into the DC universe,
right?
Because all of these characters are supposed to be magical characters, right?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, the ancient Egypt thing ties together Hawkman and Shazam, and there's no reason you couldn't have Dr. Fate going all the way back. Now, yes, Hawkman's body is someone from the modern day who remembers his reincarnation, and
you could still get the same actor to play both. It just may have looked different, but
yeah, I suppose you could
do the whole Dark Shadows thing.
Yeah. And you can, and Dr. Fate obviously would have a different host,
obviously,
but it would still be, I'm forgetting what the entity's name is, Nuburu or Nuburu,
I think so.
Something like that. It's actually kind of brilliant. Interestingly, the only reason that Black Adam is still alive is because he has the power of Black Adam. If he was to ever lose that, he'd die, because 1,000 years, 5,000 years of age, has a negative impact on you.
They did that on one of the they did it. They used to do these DC animated shorts they would give you on like the DVDs, and one of them was a Superman Shazam meets Black Adam, and it's actually Superman and Shazam fighting Black Adam, and it ends with Shazam not wanting to go into the prison again. Oh, forget it! And he just says Shazam, and then he loses the power. So of course he turns into an old man and disintegrates because it's thousands of years on him, and that's how they. This was like a one-off thing. It wasn't really connected to anything else, but I did like that short, and I don't know if I know what they're trying to do here, because the whole point with the Wizard is that he made a mistake with picking this guy to be that's why he was so careful with who he chose to be, Captain Marvel,
because it could be just an origin story for a villain. They could be setting him up to be the villain for the next Shazam movie. And a way of introducing these other characters to their
See, I think doing it as a period movie though would have made more sense. Just have it take place in ancient Egypt, and
I know,
just,
right?
you know, and
All,
just
all of the Mummy or something like that,
yeah,
right?
basically, yeah, and just go there, and then you could have it end with him showing up again in modern times, and is there going to be a rumble with him and
And
Captain Marvel?
then you reintroduce us to the new incarnation of
Of
Hawkman and
Hawkman
so forth.
and Doctor Fate, and you realize, oh, this is things that get passed down over the centuries. Yeah, and they could have done that. I just don't know if I understand they're releasing him now. Is Captain Marvel even going to be in it?
I don't know.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It looks like they're trying to do
There's
what they're
got
doing.
to be some interconnection because they're clearly going with that same Shazam.
Because I know that
origin.
I know that Dwayne Johnson was on board at playing the villain, right? So I don't
Yeah.
know why they just didn't have him be a villain. I was expecting to be the villain in the next Shazam movie. I figured that was what it was going to be.
Real quick, we should say good night to Auditor Dread. He's heading out, and
All right.
look, anybody else who's gonna bow out, certainly appreciate having you around, but make sure you hit the like button and double check and make sure you're subscribed. This is getting to be a bigger and bigger problem for YouTubers, especially us small ones.
Yeah.
So even if you think you're subscribed, double check. Okay.
Sarah Shahi was a series regular on Person of Interest. She's the only reason I would bother with Black Adam. I'm not even necessarily saying this is going to be a bad movie. I just don't understand what they're going for here because I,
they're counting on. They're just counting on Dwayne Johnson bringing in people.
He will bring in people, but you could still make a movie about it being a villain, and then if you want to turn him into an anti-hero later, maybe.
And in fairness, we don't know that's not what it's going to be. We'll just have to take a wait and see, but I have my suspicions.
I have a suspicion they're trying to make their own version of Venom.
Possibly.
That's what I think with the darker and okay. Well, let's move on to Marvel.
You know what? Now that you say it, they're probably leading up to a Justice League Dark with, you know, Dr. Fate and all of that.
But again, you could still show them.
I
think doing a period movie about a hero who falls from grace.
I agree.
Then he has to get sealed away by
that's too much like good storytelling. What are you talking about? I mean, who do you think these DC people are? Horizon Talker?
I don't know. Gonna have to bow out to peace out. Catch the rest on the rewatch. All right, but you're missing Marvel.
I was just talking about you. Take care, Horizon Talker.
No, but the thing is, though, because there's a story to be told there about. That's when I first heard they're doing a Black Adam movie. Oh, it's going to take place in ancient Egypt, and they could have the wizard in it, like the wizard that gives, you know, Shazam the powers in the present. Right. He could be in it too, and having Dr. Fate and Hawkman, that could work too, because maybe this could be the first incarnation of them. You never know back in this time, you know, and this could just, but no, maybe, who knows, maybe there was a Justice League of the ancient world, huh? That would have been interesting, right?
Yeah, I never thought about
it. I don't know.
Probably wouldn't call it Justice League, but yeah, something like that. I could dig it. Yeah, sure.
I don't know, but never mind. Here we go. MCU Phase 6, the Multiverse Saga. I almost balked at that.
Man.
They haven't. You saw Phase 5, huh? You looking forward to Daredevil Born Again? And I'm like, did he convert to another religion? I mean, I'm like, what is the plot?
I saw somebody tweeted out the board, and I got it in my thumbnail, the board of all of the announcements and whatnot.
Yes.
And they had pictures of other stuff that has been put out at San Diego Comic-Con, and it said, for all those people out there claiming that the MCU has no direction going forward. And I'm like, we know they've got a direction. It's right to the MCU. And here it is.
Okay. Marvel has revealed some of its plans for Phase 6 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Why is it Phase 6? What happened to Phase 5?
I don't know. I've given up keeping count.
Phase 4 is supposed to end with Wakanda Forever, right?
I guess. I don't know.
Apparently I didn't watch the trailer to that one. I watched the DC trailers.
I don't know, but I hear that Chadwick Boseman is supporting it.
Dude.
I'm kidding you not. Did you see that his official Twitter account has been putting out support
What?
videos. Yes, of Wakanda Forever. I'm not even joking.
Oh no, 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 no,
Yup.
no. I can even understand if it's a Chadwick Boseman like fan page or
Nope.
something. No,
It's
just
an
oh
it's the
no.
official Disney Chadwick Boseman. It's
Oh,
still putting out stuff about this
no class, man.
none at all, and people are ripping them about it. It's
It's
ridiculous. It's
ridiculous.
ghoulish.
It is ghoulish. Marvel has okay some of its plans. Okay, revealed at San Diego Comic Con. Marvel Studios panel. What'd she say?
What'd you say?
I like it from beyond the grave.
I like it from beyond the grave. That's how it comes off. That's exactly right.
Let's
I mean,
not go
I
there.
even had said to someone else, I said it's like when a friend dies and then you get some kind of a text message or a DM from them, and you're like, the fuck is this? And then you realize somebody hacked them or something like that. Or a family member, yeah, or something like that. But still, it's just creepy as all hell.
Well, I have to tell you, another thing that bothered me. This goes back to Star Wars Rogue One when Peter Cushing's visage is on Governor Tarkin, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then like the family says, "Oh, the family estate approved his use of this." And says, "Yeah, that's great that his estate did. Did he?" he's I mean, this is. I found that to be kind of ghoulish.
Which is, I pointed this out to you at the time, which is why you have the Mark Hamill clause. Mark Hamill has already signed off on Disney using his likeness. They probably gave him a crap ton of money to do it, but now you're going to start seeing actors start taking a big cut of money for their likeness after they die.
I don't even know why they bothered having Tarkin in there when they had Krennic. It's gonna make Krennic be the big bad guy. You don't have to have Tarkin in anyway. Whatever. I'm complaining about things. Revealed at Sandy. Okay, you excited? Let's boogie. Phase 6 will begin with Fantastic Four and end with 2 new Avengers movies titled Avengers: The Kang Dynasty and Avengers: Secret Wars. Marvel also confirmed the end of Phase 6 will complete the MCU's second saga, which is now officially called the Multiverse Saga.
It's the MCU, but yeah, they can call it whatever they want.
Okay, we also learned that Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four is coming to theaters on November 4th, 2024. The next Avengers movie will come shortly after with Avengers: The Kang Dynasty coming to theaters on May 2nd, 2025. Avengers: Secret Wars will hit theaters just 6 months later on November 7th, 2025.
Who are the Avengers? Nobody's left.
Well, I'm assuming if they're introducing the Fantastic Four, they'll be involved with the new Avengers.
But
maybe
no, the Fantastic
Captain
Four is
Marvel,
not Avengers.
New Captain America, Ironheart, which was announced for Phase 5.
Oh, for
Ironheart.
sake.
I guess Daredevil's coming back.
Yeah, but Daredevil was never an Avenger. The Fantastic Fours are not Avengers. They're their own team.
Well, they will be now.
Yeah, probably. And Sue will be the leader of the team.
Who won't be played by Jessica Alba because apparently she can't get work because she's.
Well,
that was a Ethan Van Sciver video I was watching.
I saw that. She's not ethnic enough.
She's not Latina enough and not white enough. So she falls in the middle too. It's completely.
There's
ridiculous.
Diversity for you.
It's just completely ridiculous.
Heaven forbid you fall between the cracks too.
It's completely ridiculous. Phase 1 to 3 of MCU is called the Infinity Saga. We now know Phase Multiverse Saga. Marvel announced that today Phase 4 was coming to an end with She-Hulk and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, meaning that Phase 5 will encapsulate projects released between November 2022 and November 2024. The finale of Phase 5 is coming in summer 2024 with the release of Thunderbolts, a new movie starring a supervillain team that's about to reshape the MCU. We'll have to
another story about villains. Great.
We'll have to wait and see. I always imagined Thunderbolts was the MCU's version of Suicide Squad, right? Was that the impression you got?
I actually have no idea what Thunderbolts is.
Okay, because I think they were read by Harry Osborn. Sorry, Harry Osborn.
Okay,
but yeah. Well, apparently, when he was in there as the Iron Patriot, apparently And when he was in the Iron Patriot suit, he was still wearing his Green Goblin makeup.
Oh,
I guess to
God.
show this was a bad idea. You know? Anyway, we'll have to wait and see how the remaining projects of the multiverse saga tie everything together. After the release of Thor: Love and Thunder, we said the Phase 4 of the MCU needs a clear goal. The MCU has been teasing Kang the Conqueror as its new big bad for some time now. A version
Sure,
of the
for anyone that actually subscribes to their content behind their paywall, because there's been nothing in any films about it.
Disney Plus. You have to get caught up on your Disney Plus shows.
No,
Was
I
featured
don't.
in Loki. Okay, well then you'll be missing out.
I'll be better off for it.
Okay, how Kang will look in the upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania.
Yeah, the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where Scott Lang is a celebrity who wrote a book about saving the world, but his ego and fame have driven him away from his daughter Cassie and the rest of his family.
Is that the plot?
Yes.
Oh no!
So another deadbeat dad, and we'll
The whole
probably
point of
see.
Ant-Man was, despite all his problems, he did love his daughter and cared about his daughter.
Yep,
That was his motivation.
That
It
was
was
his
like
whole
his saving
world,
grace.
but he
Yes.
gave that up for fame and fortune. And I'll bet you what happens is he ends up giving up his suit to his daughter at the end of this movie, and more MCU for you guys. Goodbye, deadbeat dad.
Well, I know they're going to get rid of Evangeline Lilly because she had some controversial opinions on masks or vaccines or something, right? So they'll probably get rid of her too. But as for Fantastic Four, after some unsuccessful pre-MCU movie adaptations, Marvel confirmed return to the Fantastic Four storyline in 2020. The film was originally helmed by MCU Spider-Man trilogy director John Watts, who subsequently quit the project, saying he needs a break from the superhero realm. After years of fan casting, John Krasinski made a cameo appearance as Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but Marvel had never committed to the Office actor taking on the role long term. Then why was he cast in Multiverse of Madness? Why not get the actor who played him in the Fox ones?
I'll tell you what, if he's not Reed in the Fantastic Four movie, the fans are going to be pissed.
Oh, MCU, huh? Come on. Excited.
Nope.
Do it. Do it. Is Kang the Conqueror this big bad? I'm not familiar with him because I'm not as much of a Marvel guy.
Kang the Conqueror is to Marvel what Vandal Savage is to DC.
I thought that Hulk villain was Vandal Savage. You know the one I'm talking about, the ancient Greek guy?
No.
Oh, Tyrannus. Wasn't Tyrannus the
I have no idea.
MCU?
I don't know the character you're talking about.
Wasn't he like an immortal guy that made fancy inventions to destroy the world with, and Hulk stops him? Tyrannus. Nobody remembers Tyrannus. Never mind. We'll never see Tyrannus in Marvel because they don't do Hulk movies. So
that's for damn sure.
And now they have the Mark Ruffalo Professor Hulk character now. So.
Exactly, and he's even going by the wayside because now we have his cousin taking over, and she's better at everything than he is.
Did you see the new trailer for that?
Yep.
I did see. I'm like, little voice, man, don't do it. Don't click on it. They want you to click on it. Oh, you clicked on it. Okay, let's see what this is about. And it's basically her. I'm just so much better than him. She's throwing things faster. She's catching on quicker. And she's just a better Hulk. That's what that thing was saying, right?
Yep, exactly.
Just it looks like someone over there at Disney said, "Can I make a lawyer show like I would go? Yeah, but you have to put a Hulk in it to make it a Marvel." I feel like all of these new Marvel things, like they're saying Thor: Love and Thunder, it's the MCU's attempt at they're making a romantic comedy. I'm thinking, yeah, romantic comedy, single female lawyer show. Remember when they used to do superhero things? You know, remember that?
Well, and because because it's worked so well for Star Trek. The people that wrote Gilmore Girls went over to do Star Trek, so it works for them.
Yeah.
Why can't they turn Ally McBeal into Marvel Universe?
They would still have to recast General Ross. Yeah, they would, I guess. Yeah. Remember, these movies are made for the Twitter bots and not real fans. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Okay. Only 10:40. I thought we would be taking longer with these. We're zipping through these superhero articles, aren't we?
Yep.
Because no one cares.
Nobody cares. That's exactly right. We're just letting you know they exist and they're bullshit.
I want to see DC right the ship. I want to like these DC movies. There's always something off about them because I'm more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan.
Me too.
It's just not that I haven't watched Marvel or read Marvel comics also.
Nope, I watched it all the way through Endgame. The only thing I skipped was Captain Man-Hater.
You didn't miss anything.
I know I didn't.
It was like something made for TV.
And to be honest with you, I was very disappointed in Endgame too.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with that, especially what they did to Tony.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, quite frankly,
I have a bigger problem with what they did to Steve Rogers.
I'll be blunt. If they were trying to wrap it up, I would have had Tony Stark retires. And if they have to, maybe Captain America making the sacrifice. That might have been better than what they did because that's more true to his character. And then they could have had Bucky take over as Captain America after that. Because let's face it, Captain America was in a bad spot at that point anyway because he was already a criminal on the run. And it would basically show the world that he was right all along. And just, I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's not think about what could have been. Let's think about CD Projekt Red. Okay, now I know you're not as into the game stuff, right? But this is an important article. You've heard of The Witcher, right?
Yes.
Witcher became very popular because of, it was a big book series in Poland, but then a Polish game developer made a Witcher game series, which became very popular. And Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt, very popular game. And then CD Projekt Red, they got the rights to Cyberpunk, the RPG series?
I certainly do, yes.
Yeah, and they were going to make a game based on it. They even got the guy that created it to go on there. And I loved all the reports complaining about, you're having to deal with some Haitian guys in this. Is that racist and all this other stuff? And I'm thinking the guy who's created Cyberpunk is black. Wasn't he one of the creators? It's ridiculous. CD Projekt stock is worth a quarter of what it was before Cyberpunk 2077 release. Okay, the problem was they decided to release a big game completely unfinished, fairly unplayable on modern consoles.
The fans were really pissed.
It was a disaster, and the developers were screaming about it because they said the company guys did not give them the time. They needed more time to work on it. It was not ready for launch. And here we go. A new report from Business Insider Poland paints a grim picture for CD Projekt. The company's value has cratered by over 75% since just before the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, a business that once boasted a market capitalization of over 40 billion Polish zloty, briefly becoming the most viable games company in Europe, is now worth less than 110 billion. Okay, I guess that's Polish dollars. In the weeks leading up to Cyberpunk's launch, CDB shares were trading around. Okay, I'm not going to get to the technical, but in similar terms, this basically means that the reception of Cyberpunk 2077 and the CDP's subsequent firefighting of the problems has shorn off 5 years of the company's overall value. This is despite Cyberpunk 2077 selling almost 14 million copies in 2020 alone. Ever since launch, the developer has been largely focused on fixing problems with the game, mainly on console, it has to be said, and the multiplayer mode that was once promised is now not happening. That's not very good when you promise people this will have a multiplayer mode, and then it launches without one, and then it doesn't get one in the end, right? That's false advertising. Am I wrong?
No, I agree.
Perhaps the most humiliating moment, perception-wise, was when Sony removed the game from the PlayStation Store. That's subsequently returned. Yes, Sony took it off the store. They said you released an unfinished product. I never saw any company do that. I'm trying to remember if anyone else did that, but I know Sony did that. So good on them. They said you have to have quality control. I mean, I grew up with Nintendo cartridges, and they always had this thing called the Nintendo Seal of Quality, and that was created because in the days of the Atari 2600, people were releasing tons and tons of games for that thing, and some of them were very poor quality. They wouldn't even work. Yeah. And that's why when Nintendo came out, they put the seal of quality on things. And to ensure that, if you're the customer, maybe you're not always going to like the game, but the game will work. Okay, right. It's not going to... And of course, that's kind of fallen off in recent years because ever since we got the internet and consoles started going online, they said, we'll give you a patch post, okay? And at first it was patching little things here and there, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes patching bigger and bigger things over time. So the time happens when you buy your physical game and half it's being downloaded from the internet.
Yep.
Did you know that? Okay,
Yep.
because it's not even on the disc because they were still working on it up till launch. The company's post-cyberpunk plummet has left its market cap trending at around a level equivalent to its value in 2017. While it's probably to be expected that the game company's value would drop a bit after a much hyped game finally released, the dizzying scale of CDP's fall can hardly be interpreted as anything but the result of Cyberpunk's mismanagement. Perhaps the more galling for CD Projekt Red is the possibility that they are no longer Poland's biggest game studio. Business Insider Poland draws on some math done by Pol's Biznew, a Polish business daily, to suggest that Techland might now be Poland's biggest game company by market cap. The numbers are on this one are pretty fuzzy, though. Techland aren't listed on the stock exchange, so Pol's they had to guess that their share price would be in the arrival of the estimate of a market cap around 10.6 billion, I guess, in Polish money. All right.
I mean, it almost sounds like, you don't provide a quality product, people stop buying it.
Yeah.
Your stock values drop.
This was a disaster. You have no idea how hyped this game was. This was going to be like a game of the year game. That's what people were going to be saying about it. And of course, Cyberpunk from the role playing game series, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had Keanu Reeves was playing a character in it that you could interact with.
Yeah, I've seen some of the footage of that. Yeah,
yeah, and it was neat. It looked really neat. It looked like a Ghost in the Shell style of game. I found it interesting. Microsoft released an Xbox One X, which was their more powerful version of the Xbox One that was cyberpunk themed, where it looked like something that would be made in a cyberpunk future, like how the console looked, like the pieces were different color and stuff, like someone patching this. It was neat looking, and it came with a copy of Cyberpunk 2077. And I can't help but wonder, I bet this game didn't even run on the console that was made to look like that was a cyberpunk themed console, and I bet the game that came with didn't even work. It's ridiculous. Witcher 3's release and had only released its last DLC a year prior, returning. Okay, so they're working on a new Witcher game. So there's talk of a new Witcher game. Why? Because The Witcher still holds cachet.
I'll tell you what, the
only
way you turn this around is, you take a successful property like The Witcher, put out a new game, and make it friggin' fabulous. And it better work off the line or the fans will never come back again. This is like a last shot. This is your Hail Mary. You fuck it up, you may as well close up shop.
Yeah, they have one more chance at this, and I think that's going to be the next Witcher game. Which I assume are based on the novels, so I guess they'll be working with the materials from those novels. But okay, here we go. Netflix. We like Netflix.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
We've had mixed feelings about Netflix going forward. As you go ahead and read this, I'm going to step away for a second. I'll be back by the time you're done reading it. Okay.
Okay, that means he has to pee. I'm kidding. I don't know whether.
Well, I actually have to take. I probably will, but full disclosure, my eyes are sore, and I'm going to take my contacts out.
Just do what you got to do. Okay.
I mean, you brought it up.
Can I get to the article already? We're getting toward 11.
You asked.
Okay. All right. Netflix lost roughly 1 million customers last quarter, the most of the company's 25-year history, but it stopped the bleeding in a nightmarish year when the company believes its new long-term initiatives will boost sales and subscribers. Those efforts, which include cracking down on password sharing and introducing a lower price tier with ads, were cheered by Wall Street. However, they're diametrically opposed to what helped make Netflix the king of streaming in the first place, its beloved customer experience. The streamer has never been able to compete with rivals like Disney in terms of sheer content, but it built its company around giving customers the best overall experience possible. Now Netflix is trading away some of the experience so it can grow in the media business. They're going to make it harder for people to share with their family, make it hard for people to watch in multiple locations. If you choose it, have advertising interrupt your content. Michael Nathanson, a media analyst at MoffettNathanson, told CNN Business. So the original consumer proposition, which was incredibly great value, is now flipping on its head. These initiatives are undoubtedly good for Netflix's bottom line, but aren't necessarily what customers are clamoring for. That could become an issue as the company attempts to simultaneously attract new users, reduce churn, and make money. Ultimately, in order for Netflix to succeed in the streaming world, it may have to become less like Netflix. Will that alienate millions of consumers? Here's a quote. What I worry is that the goodwill that they built over the years dissipates over time when they do things that they should be more consumer friendly. The media analyst said, all the incredible value and goodwill that they build is at risk of being jeopardized. So yeah, basically the article basically says though that they're trying to go for an advertiser based model when they said they would never have ads in Netflix. And they're also trying to crack down on password sharing with family members, I guess, who don't live in the same household. So they're going to charge you more. So, yeah. And here we go. New York Post. Here's a column I'll read a bit from. Face it, Netflix sucks. All right. Give me a minute while we enjoy the dead air. Okay. I always cite my sources. All right. Face it, Netflix sucks. New York Post. All good apps must come to an end, and the end is nigh for poor old Netflix. The media's cute spin on the struggling streamer's quarterly earnings report Tuesday was that it lost fewer subscribers than expected to 1 million instead of 2 million. Pop the cork, losers! Well, it was impossible. I love the title of this. Face it, Netflix sucks. Okay.
Yeah.
While it is impossible that third quarter results will look somewhat rosier than thanks to the enduring fandom surrounding the show Stranger Things, that little bump will be short-lived distraction from the inevitable. Netflix has lost the streaming wars. Disney Plus has Star Wars, Marvel, and Avatar. HBO boasts DC Comics, Harry Potter, and Godzilla. Woebegone Netflix side touts Migraine starring Melissa McCarthy.
Wow.
Stranger Things, you say? The Duffer Brothers' popular sci-fi series has just one more season to go, now that its once adorable stars' voices have become deeper than James Earl Jones.
Weren't we talking about that? Didn't I say? What do they have? They've got Stranger Things, but that's got one season left.
Well, they have other things like The Crown.
Okay.
He says The Crown. Who cares? Okay. In any case,
of it, but okay.
Netflix desperately needs more than one reliable mega hit to stay afloat. The emergence of a sleeper success a la Squid Game is rare for them, and viewers binge watch the whole thing in one day. Series such as Heartstopper, Lovely are too niche to make a dent. Netflix got nada. Except for, oh dear God, those miserable Netflix original movies. Some of the worst films you ever lays eyes on come courtesy of the streaming giant, which has long prized quantity over quality to its detriment. The past year, they've shoveled such direct in our faces as McCarthy's brain-destroying The Starling, Elsa Pataki and the heinous Interceptor, and the cheap-ass dollar General Ryan Reynolds vehicle, The Atom Project, just to name a few. Netflix, you see, is trying to overcompensate for the dwindling catalog of beloved films and TV shows that it licenses. Now that most major studios have reserved their prize titles for their own proprietary streaming services, as well as they should. Bye-bye, The Office farewell, friends. So Netflix pumps out flavorless assembly line jello in hopes anything might ensnare a fan base. Where once we had the novelty of Bird Box and Okja, now Netflix releases one or two forgettable calamities a week. Last week's Jane Austen adaptation Persuasion, starring Dakota Johnson, did not persuade me to believe that Netflix does not suck. The glut of consistently nauseous content suggests that they think their paying customers are chumps. During the pandemic lockdown, streaming services were assured by the shut-ins of the media that crowds would never return to brick-and-mortar movie theaters or go outside ever again. So Netflix figured it was untouchable, vital, a public utility like gas and water. This summer changed that. Top Gun, Maverick, Jurassic World Dominion, Thor, Love and Thunder, Elvis, The Black Phone, and Minions, The Rise of Gru have gone back to doing big business. Consumers will seek out and pay for good entertainment even during times of inflation and high gas prices. However, $120 a year for a service they hardly use is easy to cut from a budget and better spent on the competition, which is upping its game. What do you think, man? Things are not looking good for Netflix. In fact, if you think about it, how many seasons could Cobra Kai have left in it as those kids get old?
I can't imagine it has more than a season or two.
They're in trouble. I'm thinking that if I'm thinking Sony could step in if they want to merge or sell to Sony. What do you think? Does Sony have the money to buy them though? They probably don't.
I had been saying this actually for a long time that the Netflix until during the pandemic was really positioned to pull away as the streaming service if they had been wise enough to get enough of their own good original product and pull in the companies that didn't have their own streaming services and sign them to exclusive licenses, right? Like Sony would have been a great one. Say, we'll put out everything in your catalog and you'll make money off of it and residuals and licensing fees, and it'll be great. And then you hold out while Disney and Paramount and whatever else fight it out amongst themselves. And as they start to die and start to merge, you just say, you can come over to us. We'll form a conglomerate against the big bad mouse. But that's not the route they went. Instead, they kept everyone at arm's length. They didn't form any agreements. They decided to go their own way with things like Cuties. And you look, when you're in something like this, when you are in this cutthroat war of platforms, which is what this basically was, you do not alienate any fans, any of them. And you go woke, the reason you go broke is you immediately lose half of your clientele. You can't afford to do that when it's when the river's drying up and you're trying to evolve into a land creature,
Keeping us under house self-arrest was their plan. Yes, probably.
Yeah, that only prolonged their death throes. That allowed them to last a little bit longer, but they did not take advantage of it.
Welcome, Jace Fawkes.
How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I was just over hanging out with him before this one, so he's come over to say hi. Make sure you subscribe to Boomer. He's good people.
Thank you.
If you're not already. And by the way, I still want to schedule a time to get you on my channel. So, go back, look at our DM, history and let me know about that.
They got to call up Sony and said, Sony, please.
Yeah.
Help us out here. Give us your back catalog.
But see, unfortunately, I'm seeing Sony getting in a little too chummy with the mouse because of all their spider stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's even going to be an animated series on Disney Plus about the freshman high school year of the Tom Holland character. I want to find out if there was an Uncle Ben in Tom Holland's character story. I've never heard him mentioned in the MCU. Not saying that he wasn't there, but we don't really know the origin for that Spider-Man,
No, we don't. I mean, it's implied. I guess we're supposed to assume, but I don't know, man.
Boy.
Yeah.
Dungeons. Yeah, we're talking about this. I figure this is your wheelhouse, okay?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves trailer fires up Comic-Con. Yep.
So I did talk about this a bit with Pops on Pop Culture. And
put a link if you'd like to that stream if you
Jace, want. Okay. And there was a big panel of people that'll probably be just filtering onto my channel for guest appearances over the next couple weeks. But yeah, we were talking about that, and I don't know, man. This is it looks too much to me like another one of the previous D&D movies where you just take the trappings of D&D and throw them in and go, look, we have a displacer beast. Look, we have a beholder. Look, we have dragons.
Can I
You know,
read the article, please, before you start judging it? Maybe. Okay, why don't we do that? Huh?
we're
Huh?
starting to sound like a couple of geeky geezers here.
I know. Paramount and E1 were the first theatrical studios to show off their wares this year at this year's Comic-Con during their first trailer with Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves during their panel Thursday in the Confab's first in-person edition in 3 years. The panelists were bravely in person for the 6,500 capacity masked up Hall H, including Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Sophia Lillis, Regé-Jean Page, and Hugh Grant. The latter is first Comic-Con. Hold on. Sorry, I lost my place. Boomer moment. Just give me a sec.
No, this is just reading. This isn't a boomer moment.
This is me losing my place in the article, okay?
This is a scholastic moment.
We tried to do it with sense and sensibility, but we were turned away, joked Grant about that Ang Lee movie's attempt to join in the confab. The group was joined today by co-directors and scribes Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, and producer Jeremy Latcham. Jonathan Goldstein? No.
Who's that?
I'll find out when you comment on it. I didn't recognize that first reading. Hold on. Okay. In fact, Grant's Playboy past become fodder for several jokes during the panel. So why Grant decided to board Dungeons and Dragons, Rodriguez cracked. I think he mixed it up with S&M. She's not wrong, Grant said.
D&D S&M. Okay, that's funny.
Playing Grant along. I've been an enthusiast dungeon master for years. It's a British pastime sport. It's funny that they're playing funny with that from that whole controversy years ago. Toward the end of the session, a boy asked what props the actors would like to take home from the set. While Rodriguez answered her ask for Grant, it was the fish covered in KY jelly. Hugh kept in mind that's a child. Hugh, keep in mind that's a child asking the question," said Goldstein. Grant continued to joke, "For a couple of years, I would always take home a couple of extra costumes." The big boom coming out of the panel was this pick's first trailer plus 2 live-action filled clips. The log line for the pick, producer Lackham, who kept it glib. There's a lot of questions in the movie. The team is on search to find a solution to the issue they're facing. The trailer went further. "We're a team of thieves. When you do this, you're bound to make enemies, and sometimes those enemies come looking for revenge," says Pine's lead warrior. "We helped the wrong person steal the wrong thing and unleash the great evil," he adds. "We need courage, magic, and you," Pine's guy said to Lilith. She's a character with the power to transform into animals, specifically in this case an owlbear. Tease Goldstein about what fans can expect in the movie that's also in the game. There are characters from the lore as well, which will provide a runaway into multiple films. The filmmakers told Hal H that they were lifelong fans of the game. Goldstein played it since he was 10, seeing his character killed by his brother, who was a dungeon master. Daly began playing during his acting time on Freaks and Geeks. Pine didn't discover the game until he was 42 when the filmmaker sent him a package of D&D games. The Star Trek actor said he was aware of the game through his nephew, who was a huge fan. "We got my whole family to play. It was amazing to see my family light up," Pine said. "My father didn't want to play, and my sister thought it was a pain," he quipped. If there's a game that should be played on every high school, it's D&D. You can get the bully and the jock in a room, and I guarantee you in 20 minutes they won't remember what kind of class they came from or who their best friends are or who the dork is. They just want to play and have a laugh," said Pine. Okay, and there was a 2000 feature take on Wizards of the Coast that made a paltry $34 million. The Paramount One's version is a whole different ball game, souped and starred up. As Grant puts it, this movie has a Monty Python sensibility. The first clip shown was Pine's, Lillis, and Justice Smith's adventures at a battlefield graveyard as they questioned corpses, searching for the location of the Helmet of Destruction and to learn what happened in the battle. They go through multiple dead people as the scene flashes back to the battle against an evil dragon. The second clip had Grant welcoming 3 groups of adventurers, including the threesome above, to a contest in Neverwinter where they raced through a maze to escape a displacer beast. As they search for weapons, Rodriguez is attacked by a mimic pretending to be a chest. While Lilith almost runs into a gelatinous cube, the clip ends as Pine is cornered by the displacer beast. Okay.
Well, that was something that I missed. I didn't realize that Neverwinter was one of the settings. So they're definitely drawing on their I guess Eberron or whatever world setting. So at least that's something. I do kind of hope they start drawing on some of the named characters from the lore of D&D. They tend to shy away from that. The way they shy away from using characters from comic books so as not to have to pay the writers and artists any royalties, they tend to stay away from things like Dragonlance and the characters from Dragonlance and stuff because they don't want to pay, the creators of those particular stories. And that's been very much to their detriment. That's why we've ended up with the very generic sword and sorcery movies that we've gotten in the previous, what was it, 2 or 3 Dungeons and Dragons films.
I know some were made for sci-fi movies, right? And then
yeah, that tells you something too. And the special effects here don't look too much better than that, to be honest with you. But then again, I don't think they have as big a budget to work with as Marvel, because Marvel's cutting edge with their CG.
Were you getting a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe from this movie trailer?
Yes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
If it sounds to me like, based on what you were just reading there and the vibe coming out of the panel, they're going for this is the Dungeons and Dragons game from the point of view of the characters. So it's got to have the kind of playfulness that game groups have
that you might have in the game. That was sort of the impression I got. Maybe that's what they're going for. So there'll be quips and jokes and stuff. And
I'll tell you, if there was any place to throw in, anachronistic music, like what was
Led
that?
Zeppelin. It's a Led Zeppelin song, wasn't it? That they were playing the trailer?
Were they? Okay, I missed that. So. But no, I was thinking of that movie with Heath Ledger where he plays a knight.
Oh, Knight's
Knight's Tale.
Knight's Tale, whatever. Okay.
And he and they used contemporary songs in a fictional setting like that. That I could see totally working in a D&D movie. So if they wanted to do that kind of a thing, a la, Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but they've already done this. It's ready to go. So we'll see what they actually come up with.
So you basically you're not sure. That's your home.
Oh yeah, no. No way of knowing.
It could be brilliant, it could be a disaster. That's
I saw things that made me cringe, but that doesn't necessarily nothing that was a deal breaker. Okay. I saw someone dive into a gelatinous cube in one scene because the immediate danger was worse than the inevitable danger of jumping into a gelatinous cube. And I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like, that's so stupid. No one would do that. And then I thought about some of the games groups I've been in. And I'm like, nope, that's not true. I could totally see some people doing that. Okay, I'll allow it.
So it looks like they're trying to take the humor of like you'd have in one of these games and maybe inserting it into like a fantasy. So maybe they're trying to distinguish this from like
if we get some of that, then I'll be in, but if we find out that they have, wheelchair accessible dungeons and you're not allowed to say bad things about Drow elves, I'm done.
It almost reminds me of like the cast they have, or like celebrities that would meet in a D&D group. It's, what I mean. That's what
there are a lot of celebrities that I'm here, and I don't know how much of it is them putting on, airs to get geek cred and how much of it's real. But I've heard people like Dwayne Johnson and a lot of people like are totally into playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, okay, I cool.
I can see Michelle Rodriguez playing D&D because you wouldn't expect it, but that's why I see it. That's why.
Yeah. Well, and I've said for a lot of years, I said I'm surprised that there aren't more actors playing Dungeons and Dragons, because it really is theater of the mind,
Yeah.
improvisational type acting is what the game really is.
So we'll do a wait and see. It's neat seeing that redheaded actress again on screen. We need more redheads on screen, and I
Yeah.
think she was in younger actress. She was in the It reboot. I believe that's her, and I think she did some Nancy Drew made for video movies. So
There you
it'll be
go.
interesting to see her getting in. We need
Good,
more
good.
redheads, so that's good. Sylvester Stallone calls out Rocky series producer over ownership rights.
Yeah.
Never let me say we're not fair to movies on here. Okay, we do try to be. Anyway, getting back to the article, Sylvester Stallone has voiced words against Irwin Winkler, implying that the producer behind Rocky films and its sequel series Creed is withholding a significant financial stake in the franchise from the actor. The 76-year-old Stallone shared a portrait of Winkler as a knife-tongued serpent through his Instagram Sunday morning. The image came alongside a caption calling for a fair gesture from the 93-year-old producer. A very flattering portrait of the great Rocky Creed producer, Irving Winkler, from one of the country's greatest, Stallone wrote, after Irwin controlling Rocky for over 47 years and now Creed, I really would like to have at least a little of what's left of my rights back before passing it on to only your children. I believe
Yeah.
that would be a fair gesture from this 93-year-old gentleman. Stallone has begun to voice frustration in recent years regarding his lack of ownership over the popular film franchises like Rocky that he helped originate. Although Stallone received first dollar gross on the early Rocky sequels and earned net profits off the 1976 original, which has cost over $1 million to produce and gross $225 million globally. That's a good
Yeah.
investment. The actor maintains that he's been deprived of an equity stake in the franchise. This is a painful subject that eats at my soul because I wanted to leave something of Rocky for my children.
Yeah.
But it's always great hearing from the loyal fans. Keep punching. Stallone's Instagram post concludes. In 2019, Variety reported that Winkler was surprised to learn that Stallone was dissatisfied with the stake in the franchise, pointing to the tens of millions of dollars he received in profit participating in upfront fees. One source claimed that Stallone made more than $10 million on both Creed and its 2018 sequel. Stallone starred and produced on both. Yes, but keep in mind that $10 million, what's going to be worth in 5 years? I'm kidding. I'm thinking about
Well,
like
there's that, and there's also the fact that you get, depending on what your involvement in something is, you deserve to be paid as an actor. You deserve to be paid as, a writer, writing credit, intellectual property. He's contributed to the writings of some of these films going back, and I think we're going to be seeing this. Probably is going to become a lawsuit.
yeah,
Otherwise, why would it even be coming up? And this is going to be no different than things like Halloween, Hellraiser, uh, what was it? The Alien movies, others,
yeah.
the
There's lots of stuff.
creators get,
Friday
need
the 13th.
yeah,
That.
they deserve to get their due compensation when they were the ones that created these things.
Yeah, he goes on.
So
He goes on saying, "I have zero ownership of Rocky." Stallone told Variety in 2019, adding, "It was shocking that it never came to me, but I was told, hey, you got paid, so what are you complaining about?" I was furious. So I don't know. I hope this gets sorted out because I mean, when you think of Rocky, you think of
well,
Sylvester Stallone.
that's kind of like saying to, the people that appeared in Gilligan's Island and the what's that, the Brady Bunch and stuff like that. Hey, you got paid for your acting. Why are you complaining? Well, because those shows are still being played and we deserve residuals because other people are continuing to profit off of our efforts. If they get paid, we should get paid too. You know, it's not exactly the same, but it's the same kind of mentality, you know?
No, I understand. Yeah, it's just it's. I don't know. You figure when you're hitting 93, though, you're gonna be quibbling over this, right?
Well,
Maybe set things
that
right before
no,
you
that's
meet the great one.
exactly, he makes an excellent point though. As he's getting older, he's got to start thinking about, I'm not going to be around much longer. What am I leaving to my kids? That's
Yeah.
what he's thinking about. You know, my kids as opposed to his kids.
Yep. Frasier revival, tossed salad and scrambled eggs coming to Paramount Plus as early as next year. This piqued your interest, didn't it?
It did. I loved Frasier. I certainly love Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, he's funny. Forget what the weirdos over at Friends will tell you. The white whale of television revivals has always been Frasier. Kelsey Grammer's persnickety radio psychologist character was a television staple for 20 years, if you include Cheers, and I do, yeah. Garnering Emmy after Emmy and a worldwide infatuation with Niles, Roz, and of course Eddie. Rest in peace. Oh, that's the dog.
Yeah.
Well, Grammer says that Paramount hears the blues a callin' and wants more Frasier, and it's coming sooner than later. So you can imagine it now, somewhere in a Hollywood boardroom filled with executives banging their hands on a long oak table chanting, Frasier, Frasier, until some poor soul got Grammer on the phone. It worked because Grammer says that it'll probably be out as early as next year. Well, we don't actually have a date for when we're going to start filming Kelsey Grammer to Collider. We're still kind of breaking the story a little bit. We're doing a polish now. When will we see Frasier? Probably in the first quarter of next year.
Yeah.
Grammer confirmed the revival's existence earlier this year. Back in February, the actor told The Hollywood Reporter that he heard the cries of a desperate, confused, and frankly pathetic country, and that he at Paramount Plus could fix it with some more Frasier. What you mean?
I like that.
As an actor, you want to
I like
entertain?
that. Yeah,
I don't know where that's coming from. Having spent over 20 years of my creative life on the Paramount lot, both producing shows and performing in several, I'd like to congratulate Paramount Plus on its entry into the streaming world. Grammer said in a statement, I gleefully anticipate sharing the next chapter in the continuing journey of Dr. Frasier Crane.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Frasier was a sitcom staple back in the day.
So I watched every single episode. I loved it. Spinoff of Cheers. You know, he continued that character and a couple other characters from Cheers.
There was a Cheers universe. Wings was also in that universe. Remember Wings?
Oh, that's right. It was.
Yes. I think Frasier guest starred on an episode of Wings, or someone from Cheers did. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. But I tend to be of the mind, why do you want to reboot that series of all things? It necessarily is going to be completely different. Frasier and Niles, they're brothers. Their father is now dead. I mean, the actor's dead, so
right.
They're going to have to work that into the storyline. That makes sense. So it's going to be a more, I'm not going to say more serious, because they always kind of dealt with moderately.
Well, Niles had a son too, didn't he? So maybe the son will be grown up on the show.
That's right. You're right. There could be the children there.
Maybe he'll be more like the grandfather, right?
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to find out, how Daphne plays into that, if she ended up in a relationship with Niles, and Roz, what brings her back, because it's not going to be a radio show. I could guarantee you they're not going to go the radio show route. I can't
be a streaming show, like on a channel.
That could be interesting. What if he's got like a YouTube channel or something like that? Yeah. Actually, that would be great cross marketing.
Yeah.
Start putting out some
fake Frasier clips where people calling for advice or something. Yeah. Because you have call-in shows all the time on YouTube. People asking for advice on things. Yeah.
That would be brilliant. I don't see why not. But yeah, it would have to be different. And in fact, I was reading, I don't know if it was that article or a different one. Kelsey Grammer had said, we almost certainly won't use the same song, even though they're calling it that, because the song specifically spoke to the call-in show. That's what the tossed salads and scrambled eggs were. It was the crazy people calling in for help. Scrambled eggs all over my face. It's, what he's dealing with, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I seem a bit confused. You saw him bumbling sometimes with the show, but I got you pegged. I know what you're calling about. I know how to help you. So I don't see that. They may have to come up with a completely different formula for the show. Who knows? I mean, why would this be any different than any other brand new show if it's going to be that completely different? So we'll see.
It's interesting. I remember when Cosby came back to TV. Of course, I know he's persona non grata now, but remember he had the Cosby Show where he's the doctor. They brought it back years later where he was playing a different character. It was still called Cosby, but he was like a working class guy.
That was the
And
problem, though. It came back with him playing a completely different character, and there was no connective tissue to the previous thing. You know, it was just more Cosby humor without the continuation of the stories that people cared about. This one I totally see being another sitcom, but like I said, completely different, which is fine, but at least you still have I want to see what those characters are up to, a generation later, and then go, wow, this is completely different, but yeah, I could see this being the future for these characters. I don't know. We don't know enough for me to be able to make any kind of a judgment about it. I do ask why, but at the same time, I'll be interested to see what happens. Although I'll probably never see it because I am not going to subscribe to Paramount Plus.
Really?
Anyway,
I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out when it comes on. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I miss having good sitcoms. I mean, to be fair, I haven't kept up with sitcoms. Maybe there's some good ones on right now. I don't know. I remember back in the 90s, that was a big sitcom era. You had Seinfeld, you had Friends, you had even Wings. I think that was a 90s show. I used to watch Wings all the time.
Honestly, I'm completely detached from television. I don't even know what's on anymore. Is there any sitcoms out there anymore?
Young Sheldon. I think they did a spinoff of Big Bang with Sheldon as a kid.
Is that still going on?
I have no idea. I'm out of the loop on a lot of things. It's like I don't know what. I guess network television still exists. I just haven't partaken in it. I mean, unless it's on streaming, I'll occasionally watch something. But even still,
I mean, because honestly, how could they even do a sitcom anymore? You're not allowed to be funny anymore. Humor offends people.
Well, I think if anybody will bring it back and be Kelsey Grammer, I don't think he cares about the BS.
He does not care. Yeah, he absolutely doesn't. And if they
really was anything really offensive on Frasier when you watched it, I mean, think about it. I don't know. I remember one episode where I think some guy that bullied him back in high school was coming to fix his pipes, and he's like, well, you know what? They say the best revenge is living well. And if that's the case, then you're getting the best revenge. Because, of course, he had a good career going.
Right.
Penthouse apartment. The guy coming to fix his plumbing. He's like, I'm so sorry. And it was this whole awkward thing because he's like, you don't remember. He's like, I was so stupid back then, doing things. It was just but it's like the best revenge living well doesn't really,
Well, because then, assuming all things are equal,
and I think he did. Actually, no. I think the plumber said, I make good money too. Like I think he was saying what he made. Like I don't know if the subject of money came up, but I think the impression was he's a plumber, but he still makes good money. Do you understand being a plumber?
That's a little bit of a conservative point of view. It's like, oh, really? The tradesman is.
Like I wonder if the tradesman was making more money than he was. Maybe that ended up being the punchline. Like maybe
I think it was. Yeah,
at his plumbing
business
that he did at the radio show.
But at the same time, it also was all things being equal, everybody grows up, and you realize, I was a jerk. Sorry about that, man. We were very, very different people in high school, So,
Frasier, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm kind of
remake of One Foot in the Grave. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know One Foot in the Grave.
I'll do research on that maybe for next week's stream. Young Sheldon is still a thing. And then,
I guess.
Here we go. It's rumored Young Sheldon is up for one more season, then it ends because he probably won't be Young Sheldon.
He won't be young anymore. He's getting ready to go right into.
It's a college. Plus, I think he was a genius kid, right? So he's probably in college on the show already. Yeah,
probably.
But it's just okay.
I wonder if in the last episode he meets young Leonard and they start They move in together across from Penny or something.
I just want some good TV. I want some return to normalcy. Maybe in 20 years.
I don't
I'm
know.
kidding, of course.
I'm getting caught up on my DVDs. I got plenty of things to keep.
You know what I got
occupied
on
till I
Blu-ray
die.
recently? Did I tell you I got Battlestar Galactica, the 1970s series?
The original one, yeah.
I've never seen it, and they had, and it comes with it's neat because it comes with. This is such a weird box set because they had a box set that was just the widescreen edition, which everybody complained about. This version comes with the widescreen versions, but also the full frame versions, like the original TV aspect ratio. So, and
wait a minute, how do they have widescreen when it was filmed in?
They cropped it.
Oh fuck!
But
now
this version comes with both.
Complaining.
They released another version later on that came with the full frame version included with the.
Well, the widescreen would. I mean, the original pilot would be widescreen because that was a theatrical release.
I have no idea. It also contains a theatrical movie with it too.
Yes.
And I don't know, as Galactica 1980, which I hear people are not too keen on.
Yeah,
they said the Starbuck episode finale, so it was good. The rest
it was very much a jump the shark kind of thing, but
because they couldn't get any of the actors back for.
But you know who they did have was Jerry, not Jerry. What's Dick Van Dyke's son's name?
Oh, I don't know.
Barry Van Dyke. Yeah. He was the new Starbuck analog. He was in
right.
It.
Okay.
He was good.
I don't know. I was watching a bit of the pilot. I like when they're in the gambling thing and Starbucks looking at the three women singing on stage with the multiple eyes and mouths, and he says, and he goes, "Hey, you know what? I gotta hire those girls. We could put them on the circuit, make a load of money." And then Boomer says, "We have every creature in the galaxy gunning for us, and you're thinking about hiring a vocal group." I'm sorry, it's that humor. It's funny because I see where they're both coming from. He's thinking of the future for after they're.
Well, yeah.
The evil robots are done trying to exterminate them. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I miss. You know what? They got to bring Battlestar Galactica back, maybe. Huh?
I'll tell you what. No. They did it once. They did it brilliantly.
Okay, leave it alone. Okay.
The new Battlestar Galactica is the benchmark for if you're gonna bring something back. This is how you do it. But
I watched it, but I mean,
if you think about it seriously, the original Battlestar Galactica is pretty dark too. They just did it in that lighthearted. This guy got killed and that guy got killed, but hey, the main characters survived. You know, I mean, let's face it, it was basically the same story.
They both had great casts. I'll say that
they're being wiped out by the robots. You know. Yeah. It just had that 70s sensibilities of, kind of goofiness and aliens. Yeah, I think eliminating the aliens was probably the way to go in the new Battlestar Galactica.
You know what's interesting? The new one, I tell you, it's another one of those. Well, we should say this for good old days, maybe, but it was another one of those. It was like Lost in that it was a post September, the 11th of September series. There you go. You know what I mean? It was of that era.
Yeah.
Very much War on Terror era show.
Right.
A lot of analogs in that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. But
yeah. Okay, it's just turning into a good old days, and we have to wrap up the show.
We're not going to start bookending it with good old days. We're starting to sound like a couple of boomers.
Now I gotta pee. Okay.
See.
Hey, at least I can hold it, right? So I'm not there yet. Okay.
This is why you tune into Geeky Geezers for the geezer.
The witty banter, yes.
Yep.
Y'all have a good week. What you got coming up this week? I got for me, I'm gonna be on with Birdman Wednesday. We're gonna be doing a rewatch of Magnum Force, the great Dirty Harry sequel. So be sure to check that out. And Friday, you have some. Do you have anything else before Friday?
Actually, yeah, I do. I have. Well, no, I mean not before Friday, but before my show on Friday, I will be on Tea and Telly with Maria. Her channel's actually called Maria with Tea and Telly, but
gotcha.
Her banner says Tea and Telly with Maria. I gotta ask her, get that cleared up and find out what I should be calling her channel. But she has asked me to be on her paranormal night.
Cool.
Who usually has Cameron Pasha on it, so I'll see if that's the case. But yeah, that will be Friday, I believe, at like 6. I think it's 6 Central Time. Yeah, something like that. Not sure, but why don't you just get over to her channel and subscribe, and then you'll see. And then hit the notification bell. Right. And then Friday night, 9 o'clock Central, I have Friday night last call, where the liquor flows and the wisdom grows, and I will be exposing you to a new well, it may be new for you, maybe some of you already know her. No, not me. I'm exposing other YouTubers. I am going to be interviewing Janet from Another Planet. You could go ahead and subscribe to her now to get ready, but we'll be talking with her on Friday and getting her elevator pitch and finding out what she's all about.
Yeah, I guess she's had an interesting time here on Earth, right? So with her videos,
exactly.
I don't know. You wonder if alien planets have worse problems than we do, right? That's what I'm kind of curious.
Well, we can find out on Saturday over on Big Al Presents as we do a watch party of the original 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Cool.
Klaatu Barada.
Oh, you remember Army of Darkness. You remember Army of Darkness.
You knew where I was going with that.
Oh, yeah, Evil Dead Ash. Oh man, I'm sorry. He's a trip.
That is great stuff, man.
All right.
Okay.
Well, y'all have a good week. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell, and make sure you're subscribed, as we know that YouTube may have a habit of
losing you.
Losing you.
Don't get lost.
Exactly. Good night.